Hello, Manic Mercurian here with a personal year forecast for the year of 2022. And this year forecast is for someone who I just did a birth chart reading for, so you can reference that if you'd like. I'll put the link in the description. But you can see the birth chart here, and it is for Thursday, August 1st, 1974 at 6:15 a.m. in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I just like to reference the birth chart real quick and just kind of do a super brief overview before I get into the year forecast, just to show some major points that I was looking for. So with this chart, I would say the most action is going on in Cancer and Leo. There's three planets in Cancer, including two inner planets, Mercury and Venus. So there's definitely a lot of emphasis there that I paid attention to. And then also, of course, Leo with the ascendant and the sun conjunct at 8 degrees. That's a major point whenever any planets aspect that point. That is definitely something to pay attention to. And then after that, I mean, the other planets are pretty much scattered. The moon is at 19 degrees Capricorn, so that's definitely an important place. Moon is always important. And then also the IC-MC axis, the IC midheaven axis here, 25 degrees Libra and Aries, was definitely important as well, particularly with Chiron conjunct the midheaven here at 24, 25 degrees Aries. So those are just some key points I paid attention to. Jupiter in particular is a little bit interesting just because you will experience your Jupiter return. So I'm getting ahead of myself here, but those are the major points I looked at. So now that I've kind of discussed that a little bit, now I'll get into some of the general themes that you'll experience for this year as kind of a whole. So I'll talk about that before I get into the specifics here. Okay, so for this year, 2022, I'm sorry, this is not set on the right year. There we go. There's a lot happening. So for you this year, it's hard for me to kind of boil it down into one or two large themes, just because there's a lot of different things kind of happening here. Um, I have this kind of long list here. So Chiron is beginning to trine. Well, it is trining your ascendant and your sun pretty much all year. You can see it here in January already. It's at 8 degrees Aries. And so you can see in the birth chart, your ascendant and sun are at 8 degrees Leo. I know it's a little bit confusing, the orientation of the chart, since this has Leo on the left side, this has Aries on the left side. But hopefully you can kind of understand here. But you do have Chiron, at 8 degrees Aries, making that trine to your ascendant and sun pretty much all year. Chiron is very slow, so that really affects the whole year. So that would I would interpret that as making some really strong getting a lot accomplished, or making I'm spacing the word, but getting a lot accomplished in terms of healing personal wounds and traumas, but also helping others. That's what Chiron does in the chart, especially for you with Chiron conjunct your midheaven. I think you are meant to be a healer. That's how you're seen in the world and in your career. That's a big part of what you're kind of here to do. And so with Chiron trining your ascendant and sun, I think that's really powerful, and it speaks volumes. It means that you are healing yourself by healing other people, and there's this kind of ease to it. Trines are always easy. They're strong, without us having to really try that hard. So you're having this kind of natural grace, or natural strength there in terms of healing yourself and other people this year. So that's really cool. Also, you're beginning to gear up for your Chiron return, which I could talk about what that is in a different video. I'm not going to get super into it. But Chiron has gone pretty much all the way around the whole chart since you were born, and it's coming back into Aries. And so you'll actually have a Chiron return in 2026, I believe, which is a long way off. But Chiron is so slow that it's already in the sign that it will make that return in. So that's powerful as well. That would mean there's be a sort of culmination of a large cycle that has taken up pretty much your whole life so far. Has taken your whole life so far, but it means that you're approaching a sort of graduation there involving healing other people. And you're in kind of the final phases of this now in these last few years before that Chiron return. So that's something I wanted to mention. Also, I touched on this just earlier briefly. You do have your Jupiter return this year, so that's very exciting. You can see here January 1st, Jupiter has already entered Pisces, and so transiting Jupiter will make that conjunction to your natal Jupiter March 13th to be exact, but for much of the year, Jupiter will be transiting through Pisces, which is your natal Jupiter sign. This happens about every 12 years, and it suggests a lot of growth and expansion and ease. Jupiter is a benefic, so it's one of the easiest planets to work with. It can bring about some trouble when it expands things too much, is usually where we have challenges there. But generally speaking, it's a pretty easy energy to work with, and it would set a really positive tone to most of your year, especially around March with that aspect. So that's something I wanted to mention as well. And then this year, you have Saturn transiting your 7th house all year, and it will actually retrograde there. So that suggests to me that there's a lot of challenges and work to do involving your personal relationships, especially one-on-one relationships. There's challenges there, but you're being asked to be more responsible and to mature more, to be more wise in the area of relationships and having to, set boundaries with other people. It could also indicate this year that you would be drawn to Saturnian type people. So this would be older people, people who are sort of mentors to you, people who are maybe cold at times, but also very wise, who I don't know, have that kind of cold wisdom. Like Saturn is known to be cold, but it's also very wise, ancient. It stresses responsibility and self-empowerment basically by being responsible for one's own actions. So some of the lessons there are more challenging, but they ask us to be better, to grow and evolve basically. So Saturn's in your area of 7th house asking you to evolve in your relationships and kind of challenging you there, putting some weight there this year. Okay, this year we're pretty much, I don't know, we're almost halfway through Uranus's transit through Taurus. And so, Uranus is up here at the top of your chart. Transiting Uranus is going through Taurus here. So it's in the 10th house. So this means that there's a lot of shakeup in your career. And I've spoken with you, so I know you already know that that's true. But it's suggesting, revolution or major shifts, like Uranus rules earthquakes. So with Uranus, things will be stable for a long time, and then they'll just suddenly, dramatically, totally change. So that's what you're experiencing in your area of work, career, your reputation. So I would expect major shifts in that area. And this is actually an 8-year long transit that Uranus is in Taurus. Like I said, we're about halfway there. I believe Uranus entered Taurus 2018, I think. So you're in the midst of it now. That is, of course, challenging because this is very disruptive. It's disruptive to your career, but it's also asking you to grow. It's through this revolution, it brings increased consciousness. So I think this potentially has been very disruptive to your job, your place of work, and your career. But at the same time, it's resulting in increased awareness for you, increased consciousness. So you may have discovered profound knowledge or information through these changes to your work that you wouldn't have known before otherwise. And with that wisdom and knowledge comes power. And all this is ideally you can use it to get yourself to a better place. With that greater self-awareness, it does result in you having to change things dramatically at times, but it's only to do so for your own evolution, to get to a more ideal situation for yourself. So we're in the midst of that now. That will continue for the next few years here. Okay. Pluto is also something we wanted to talk about here. So you asked me specifically about how I had mentioned America's Pluto return, which will actually happen this year. America's Pluto return will be exact 3 times this year in February, July, and December. February 20th of this year, July 11th, and December 28th, specifically. And so this will, of course, affect you just like it will affect everyone in America and around the globe. For you particularly, sorry, it's happening at 27 degrees Capricorn, so it's near your moon. It's in the 6th house. So this could affect your job, your health. It can be a challenging placement. However, you've experienced a semi-recent transit with Pluto that I think has prepared you for this. And what I'm talking about is Pluto transiting Pluto, which you can see right here in this cluster. It's at 25 degrees Capricorn in early January 2022. Over the last few years, Pluto has crossed over your natal moon, and this is this is one of the most challenging aspects, in my opinion. Maybe the most challenging aspect. It's extremely difficult and something that most people will never experience. You experienced this in 2018 and 2019, and Pluto's very slow, so I would really just kind of apply this to the majority of those years, 2018 and 2019. But because of this aspect, that would suggest to me that you went through something very challenging where you were very alone with this, and you had to, you were almost like torn down inside completely. Pluto destroys things. Pluto destroys what is not, efficient or what is not of integrity. And that can be hard when Pluto, puts us under the magnifying glass and destroys part of ourselves that isn't working anymore, or destroys part of our lives that isn't working anymore that we may have been attached to. That's common with Pluto. And it may take, we may perceive it as taking things away from our life, kind of stripping us of our power, stripping us like naked, if you will. But then through that experience, it is challenging and it's a long aspect, it takes a lot of time, and it is something we usually have to face alone. But it's a little bit like Saturn, where it kind of forces you to evolve and mature and realize that your power is within yourself. So if you think your power is in your nice car or your marriage or your job, Pluto will take those things away from you to show you that your power lies within yourself. So it's a very challenging lesson to go through. It's a lot easier said than done, for sure. And like I said, a lot of people will never even have to really go through that on that intense level. The reason why it's hard with your natal moon involved is because the moon is our emotional core. Not only is it sort of a sensitive side of ourselves, but it's also like our base, our core. It's like who we are on the inside. Like if I had to just go to one placement to get information about someone, I would probably look at their moon because it's your whole core, it's your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. So to have Pluto cross over that and destroy that in order to make it stronger is very challenging. So my point is you experienced that already in 2018, 2019, and I think that has prepped you for this. I think there's something from those years that made you stronger. And so now with Pluto making this aspect with America, relatively close to where it was in 2018, 2019. It's only, later on in Capricorn here, being so slow. It's like, yes, that could be disruptive and very hard for you, but I don't think it's anything that you haven't already dealt with. I think, to me, the most difficult part would be in your past, in 2018, 2019. So I'm not sure if something did happen back then. I know you said, I know there's some challenges for you this year for sure. But I would just suggest looking back to 2018, 2019 and think, did anything happen back then that may have prepared you for what's going on now and what's going on in the near future here? Okay, that was a little heavy, but let's go forward to the nodes are changing signs. There's so many things happening this year for you. So, okay, so the past couple years, let's just say 2020, 2021, most of both of those years, the nodes were in Gemini and Sagittarius. if you don't know what the nodes are, that's okay. I'm not gonna go super into it, but um, you were born with the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, except they're sort of flipped. So your North Node is in Sagittarius with your South Node in Gemini, and over the past couple years, transiting North Node was in Gemini, South Node was in Sagittarius, so they're kind of flipped from your own. We call this a nodal opposition. And this would suggest over the past 2 years that you, so before the past 2 years, you may have kind of gone off track. You may, in life, like you may have been doing something that wasn't necessarily super relevant for your soul growth, maybe. Like sometimes we can do that. We can kind of forget why we're here and, involve ourselves with like jobs or relationships or living situations that aren't really, of course, there's always a purpose to it. There's a purpose to everything, and there's something to learn from everything. But we can involve ourselves in lifestyles that aren't really, getting at the reason why we came here. You know what I mean? Like it happens, it just happens periodically, I think. So that's common to have right before the nodal return or nodal opposition. Really either, but over the past 2 years with your nodal opposition, that would suggest to me that there are major life changes that would set you back on track. That's very common, and that's often difficult. But like I said, there's karmic events, so it is common to have major life changes at that time. So moving far or getting a new job or starting a relationship, those kind of large fundamental changes to our lives are very common when you have nodal transits like that. So I would expect that over the past 2 years for you. And that type of transit is good because it stirs things up. It's great for learning new things and making new things happen. And it can almost be addicting because it's very like cinematic. It's very theatrical and dramatic. But it's not sustainable. It's great for learning things and getting us back on track. But if it's not sustainable because it constantly changes everything. So you may have been in this state of constant change the past couple of years, especially right around eclipse season. But that's changing now because now to get to this year finally, the nodes are changing. Let's see here. The nodes are changing from Gemini Sagittarius to Taurus Scorpio. You can see here January, the North Node is at 1 degree Gemini, and they almost always go retrograde. So they travel backwards. So they will go from Gemini and Sagittarius to Taurus and Scorpio. So this is stabilizing for you. This means that the nodes have kind of set you back on the right track here. I know there's a lot of other things changing for you, but just with this aspect in particular, suggests to me that the last 2 years were very unstable and that you yourself are like back on track. You know what you need to do. You're more in line with your own like beliefs and your kind of mission here, if you will. So that's good, I think. Like I said, it's good to have that change and that, new learning that comes with that aspect from the past couple of years. But it's also good that now things can be a little bit more stable for you now that you're kind of on the right track, so to speak. Okay. And let's see here. One sort of minor thing is you did have transiting Neptune. Transiting Neptune has recently trined your Mercury. And your Mercury's at 22 degrees Cancer. Neptune is... Oh, it's at 20 degrees Pisces. So... My mistake. So this is actually upcoming for you, rather. So you will experience Neptune trining your Mercury in the near future, and I'm sure I have that in my notes. So we'll talk about that in a moment here. But that's great too. So that's indicating that there's so this is an excellent opportunity for intuition or gaining subconscious information or spiritual information, especially because your Mercury is in the 12th house. So you naturally kind of think this way anyway. You're naturally geared toward, more mystical like intuition or occult knowledge or wisdom, information that's sort of based non-physically on, like metaphysics, for instance, that type of thing. So with Neptune making that trine, it's really great for creativity, inspiration, connecting to those sort of other worlds with your mind, with your imagination, and also for gaining information as well. That's more geared toward the non-physical realm. So that's excellent, and we'll talk about that later here. And I'm almost done. Let's see. Okay. And last thing I have on this list here is, so Mars, transiting Mars will, um, you can see here it's in Sagittarius, and this year it will actually make it all the way around to Gemini. But then in Gemini, it will stop and retrograde, so it will actually spend a lot of time in Gemini this year. For you, Gemini is a pretty prominent place in your chart. You don't have any planets there. You have the South Node. Um, so not a lot of planets up here in the top of your chart, but Gemini does kind of loosely correspond to the 11th house for you, and so this is kind of a very prominent part of your chart. So Mars is spending a lot of time there, and it's going to retrograde. So that suggests a lot of new turbulence, but also like new ambition and new drive in terms of networking for you, who you're connecting with, what your network is. 11th house has to do with our hopes and dreams and our wishes, what we kind of envision for the future for ourselves. But it also has to do with groups, like what groups of people do we affiliate ourselves with. And the reason for that connection is because in the 11th house, we realize that, we have these future goals or plans, but in order to really accomplish those, we need other people. We need to work with other people, or we may, want other people to be part of our goals. And so that's where this collaboration comes in, that you meet up with other people who have the same or similar views for what they want for the far future, similar goals and aspirations. And then together, that's how you create this new sort of paradigm or this new world together. So, so Mars is in this area, kind of zapping some new energy into the mix here, and suggesting that you may have kind of battles to fight there with people or groups, but at the same time, you can also be linking up to new groups, new people that fit with your goals, if you will, and your aspirations. So that's exciting, and I'll talk more about that later in the year, but. That's what I have for this year, just on a general level before we get into the specifics. So, like I said, it is a lot. It's kind of scattered. I mean, I could say this year's a transitional time for you, but it seems like it's always a transitional time lately. There's so much happening. So yeah, I wish I could simplify that, but there's really just a whole laundry list of things happening this year for you. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, but I'll get more into the specifics here. Actually, yeah, let's just jump into it. So I'm going to break this down into chunks. So, and these are just kind of loose chunks here. First off, for January and February, for January and February, most of the action here is in Capricorn, and then it goes into Aquarius. And so for you, Capricorn and Aquarius pretty much fall into the 6th and 7th houses, and it's the area right around your descendant. And so for January and February to start the year, the focus is it's mostly on other people. So the focus is on your relationships, helping other people, dealing with other people. That's primarily the focus is on your relationships, especially with your moon in 6th house. You're naturally geared toward working with other people, helping other people, focusing on other people. So that's kind of generally where the focus is. Let's see, what else? What else can I say? 6th house can also bring sort of problems. So especially in January, there could be a lot of like small tasks to do, like errands or little problems to fix. It's not the most fun house to have transits in by any means, but and you can all, health can fall into this as well. These little things we have to do to, it's like maintenance basically, like maintaining yourself, maintaining your situation, whatever it is. So that's kind of the focus. It's definitely not the sexiest theme to work with here, but January and February is generally focusing on other people and kind of solving problems. And so let's get into the specifics here. So we start out I'm starting on January 2nd because there is a new moon at 12 degrees Capricorn. You can see here is right before the new moon. You can see here midday January 2nd. So for you, this 12 degrees Capricorn for you, it falls in success Capricorn, of course, and then it's pretty close to your moon, which is at 19 degrees Capricorn. So this would be a new beginning for you. Your moon is so close to this that you have a lot of your core personality right in this neck of the woods here. So this would suggest kind of feeling revitalized. This is common when we have a new moon close to our sun or moon placement. That you may feel kind of revitalized, and it's almost like you kind of wake up again, like you're refreshed, you're starting a new chapter. And that's always really powerful because we feel more confident, more empowered. This new moon is kind of agreeing with you. This new moon is kind of problematic on a worldview, I think. It's challenging on a worldview, but for you personally, I think it's making you feel more strong, more decisive, especially emotionally with this emphasis on your moon. You kind of know how you're feeling at this time very strongly. And this would apply to the next few weeks after this as well, since this lunar cycle is starting on January 2nd and it goes on for the next month. So yeah, I think I like this for you. I think this is, I don't know, I think I covered everything. You're kind of more confident, more emboldened. You just know your boundaries and you know where you're at. You know your stance on things right now. That's not to say that things are easy by any means, but you at least know where you're at. You have that confidence, or that like your mind is very much formed, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense too. So that's definitely a nice way to start the year. Going forward to January 7th, transiting Venus, which is retrograde, will conjoin your natal moon at 19 degrees Capricorn. So this is nice. Venus conjoining your moon in general would suggest it would suggest a harmony and a peace and enjoyment, pleasure, on a fundamental level for you. And this is really nice energy because Venus is benefic. It generally brings, beauty and positivity and pleasure to wherever it touches. And for you, it's going to where your natal moon is. So this would suggest like a general state of well-being that's pretty nice. And especially with the sun approaching the conjunction to your moon as well, these energies are just sort of agreeing with you. So I think you're starting the year pretty strong here. Knowing where you stand on things, and Venus is kind of bringing this flair to things for you. Now Venus is retrograde, so this is suggesting that it's sort of internal. It's like you have this kind of internal harmony that might not be always super tangible on the outside, but it's just kind of like an inner peace, I think, that's coming to you. It can also suggest changes that need to be made in your finances and your relationships. Venus retrograde conjunct the moon. Yeah, especially like commitments that you have with other people. I don't know, relationships, finances. You may be rethinking those things at this time, changing those things. And it is Venus, so I would think that this wouldn't be too heavy or challenging. But it can suggest that changes need to be made and are being made in those areas of finances and relationships. Going forward to January 8th, Mars makes a conjunction to your North Node at 18 degrees Sagittarius. This suggests like this might be challenging for you, but it's also good for you. It's kind of bringing about some motivation and ambition for you to become passionate about things. That's a lot of what your evolution is. Like I talked about in your birth chart reading, having North Node in Sagittarius means that you're meant to become passionate about things, and you're good at kind of learning a little bit about everything with your South Node in Gemini, and that's great. But North Node in Sagittarius is asking you to really delve into the things that really matter, things that will actually change the world, like information that is actually impacting and really meaningful. That's where you're meant to go. And with Mars crossing over this position, it's just bringing about new motivation, new ambition to this area. It can also bring about clashes. So maybe you are becoming more passionate about things and really taking a stand, maybe in even a kind of rebellious way. And so Mars crossing this area could bring about clashes there. Aggression or fighting, maybe with people who don't agree with you. But I think this is natural. Well, it's not natural in the sense that it may feel kind of foreign or unusual for you. It's not something you feel. It's not. You're kind of out of your comfort zone, but at the same time, it's natural in the sense that it's necessary for your evolution. You don't have to agree with everyone all the time, and everyone doesn't have to be your friend. That's what you learn coming from Southland and Gemini, going toward Northland and Sagittarius. This is teaching you that you have to take a stand for what really matters and for what you believe in and know to be true. And that will, of course, result in clashing with other people at times, and that's just natural. So I think that's generally the theme that this placement brings about here, if that makes sense. Going forward, and some of these transits, if they happen right around midnight Eastern Standard Time, I kind of just say both dates on either side. So for this one, January 9th through January 10th, you have transiting Sun crossing over your natal moon. This is just a really great transit to have. This suggests it can be kind of heavy leading up to an aspect like this. So the kind of couple days before. But then once this actually happens, so January 9th would suggest a turning point. Sort of almost like a death and a rebirth, not on a very dramatic level, but it's almost a little bit like a birthday in a way, like you're kind of starting a new cycle. The sun is agreeing with your moon, so you're having this kind of new vitality, new energy, new kind of a little bit of a new awakening on a core emotional level in your kind of core self here. So that's just generally powerful. It's good for kind of getting you more into action here, and also increasing that confidence in yourself. And it's sort of an internal confidence since it's Sun conjoining your moon, so it's kind of empowering you on the inside. You have this internal confidence at this time, and going forward, it kind of wakes you up and starts that new cycle. So that's really great. And then we also have Mercury conjoining your descendant at 8 degrees Aquarius. This could suggest a few things, and Mercury's actually preparing to go retrograde, but Mercury crossing over your descendant like this, it could suggest you being very busy at this time, busy speaking with many different people. It could also suggest that you are dealing with people who are kind of intelligent, who are maybe brainy or have a lot of different information. You're dealing with people, one or more different people that are maybe teaching you or just conveying a lot of messages to you. Mercury's the messenger planet, messenger god. Because it also suggests, just that you're learning a lot from other people in general, and that you're maybe, talking to a lot of people at this time. Okay, and going forward, jumping ahead a little bit here to January 18th, there is a full moon, which at the time of me making this video, we're about to have here. And it's actually very late on the 17th. Actually, I believe it's on the 17th here. Yeah, that looks more correct here. So it's late in the day on the 17th, going into the 18th. But there's a full moon at 27 degrees Cancer, and for you, it's near your Mercury, and it's falling in the 12th house. So let's see, it's 27 degrees Cancer, so it's right here, if you will. So close to your Mercury and in your 12th house. So this would suggest new energy, new light. Full moon kind of illuminates things, and it's illuminating your Mercury and your 12th house. So this is a great aspect for bringing about more consciousness, kind of exploring the depths of your subconscious and becoming more aware in these areas. And it's kind of zapping or electrifying your Mercury too. So it's waking you up. You could be very analytical at this time. You could be very busy. You could be talking a lot, speaking a lot, writing a lot, reading a lot. Mercury promotes all of this, a lot of that, that trading of information. So all that could happen for you right now, learning a lot, especially learning about ideas that are hidden or mysterious or not in the collective consciousness so much. Information that's more metaphysical or kind of hidden away, occult information. That's kind of what you're naturally geared toward learning about, and that you're naturally geared toward thinking in a way that's more subconscious and kind of intuitive, if you will. So all that is kind of electrified with this full moon, and kind of brought more into the light. So great aspect for increased information and awareness. January 17th going into the 18th, we have Mercury turning retrograde. I'm sorry, actually go forward to January 18th here. Mercury retrograde crosses over your descendant. So Mercury just crossed over your descendant January 9th through 10th, and then now it's going backward, crossing your descendant again at 8 degrees Aquarius. So this means that through most of the month of January, or most of the middle of the month, I'd say, Mercury kind of slowed down, and when it prepared to go retrograde, it did so right near your descendant. So this suggests a lot of kind of intensification and change needing to be done with your relationships. And let's see. I mean, I don't know if I would say it would be so strong as to make or break a relationship or start or end a relationship, but I think it would suggest that you're having a rethinking, a reconfiguration process in regard to how you relate to people, how you talk to people, how you listen to people, just your interactions in general. The nature of your interactions can be changing a lot in January, and there's this kind of intensity that's brought there with Mercury slowing down so close to your descendant. So you may be taking your relationships kind of seriously at this time. Your interactions are serious at this time, and maybe other people, you may perceive this as you and bringing that intensity, or other people, but really it's just kind of all one and the same. Your interactions and your relationships are intensifying, and the reason why is because there's change that needs to be made there. A lot of edits and tweaks to improving your relationships and your interactions, basically. And this also affects how you learn, how you your mental well-being, and also how you are learning about things, I guess, or how you are engaging with information. So all that is kind of changing through your interactions and relationships this month as Mercury retrogrades over your descendant. Okay, January 18th, we also have Venus retrograde opposing your natal Venus. So your natal Venus is all the way over here at 13 degrees Cancer, and transiting Venus is at 13 degrees Capricorn, making that opposition here. So this is generally a more difficult aspect. It's because you're having your Venus opposition. So you may not be as graceful as usual. So, people, like when we have Venus agreeing with ourselves, and Venus, if Venus was in Cancer, for instance, then you would kind of have this flair. You'd be very attractive, and just everything you'd say would be super smooth like butter. Like everyone would be very accommodating and accepting because they would perceive you as being very accommodating and accepting. But this is the opposite of that. So transiting Venus is all the way as far away from your natal Venus as possible. So this suggests that you don't have that right now. You don't have that that grace or smoothness. People may not. I don't want to be too negative, but it is kind of hard because it's almost like you don't have that normal energy. Like you don't have that maybe grace or charisma that you usually would at this time. And this is hard too, especially combined with Mercury retrograde on your descendant. Both are suggesting kind of changes that need to be made since both are retrograde. But this Venus opposition in particular could also bring about challenges in your finances or relationships. Kind of stresses there. You may feel kind of lacking energy in these areas. And I mean, I'm trying to think of a positive thing. It's just kind of natural, our energy always kind of waxes and wanes. You'll have your Venus return later in the year, so that time of kind of ease and grace will come to you a little bit later here. But January 18th in particular, you might just kind of feel that kind of lacking of energy, the challenges with your finances or relationships. Um, and I think just the best attitude to have would be kind of conservation, like just you know, mediation, um, just kind of coming to things with moderation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That will kind of uh, lessen the potential damages of this Venus opposition, but nothing to be scared of. This is pretty common. Just kind of showing a dip in the energy in those areas, if that makes sense here. I have to say it like it is, really. Okay, going forward to January 28th. January 28th, transing Sun crosses over your descendant at 8 degrees Aquarius, and it also opposes your Sun, I should mention too, I forgot to say earlier. As planets cross over your descendant, they oppose not only your ascendant, they also oppose your Sun. So this is kind of challenging because at this general time, especially with, on January 28th with the Sun in this area, all these planets are, they're up, like you have most of your planets in most of your strong energy, I would say, in Cancer and Leo, and so all these planets are kind of opposing you. They're in Capricorn and Aquarius. Now you do have your Moon in Capricorn, so you are. This lessens the difficulty of this, I think. But on January 28th, with the Sun opposing your ascendant and descendant, it's showing that the ball is not in your side of the court; it's in the other side. The focus is on other people, like I said earlier. So you're like there's more activity going on with other people in your life. So the focus is on how do you relate to people, how do you interact with people. The focus is not so much on you personally, if that makes sense. You're more thinking about your relationships at this time, how to work with other people. So, Sun on your descendant opposing your Sun is also difficult. Oppositions are difficult because we can feel like um, the energy is against us. Sun is opposing you, so it's as far away from your own Sun as possible. So you're kind of lacking the Sun's energy at this time. That vitality and charisma and confidence. You, of course, will still have this. I mean, you have all this Leo energy, which is fabulous. So you'll still have this to some degree, but like I said, it's kind of like a low point in the energy. And it's a time where you'd more be focusing on other people, if that makes sense. Um, and I guess the positive side is, I mean, there's always a pro and a con to everything, but I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the more challenging aspects. I mean, I think this is a more challenging time of year. We did have a couple nice things in early January that were really beautiful with like Venus conjunct your moon, for instance. But just in general, there are a lot of oppositions here, so it is challenging. I think it is kind of a low point in the energy for you. You could be maybe a little bit depressed or having some challenges here, but a lot of this is seasonal. Things will pick up for you and become a lot easier a little bit later in the year once these planets kind of come around and aren't just making all these oppositions to you. And that's something that astrology teaches us or teaches me is that, like, of course, we experience challenges, but it always feels more permanent than it is when it's happening to us. So this may feel like it's going to be here forever, but it's not. Everything ends. Everything is just a phase or a cycle or a season. Everything's constantly changing. So yes, this is challenging, but you might be lacking energy, maybe a little bit depressed, but just really all I have to say is hang in there. Things will naturally change and develop, and it will get easier later on this year here. Okay, let's go forward to January 31st. There's a new moon at 11 degrees Aquarius. For you, 11 degrees Aquarius is right here in your 7th house, and it's just past your descendant. So this very much points to a new beginning, new cycle involving your relationships. So maybe you could meet new people at this time, new one-on-one interactions, new one-on-one relationships, or even relationships that you currently have and continue to have. You're kind of taking a new look at. There's new developments there, kind of new shifts. Um, because it's starting a new cycle. There's like a rebirthing there. So in short, this would suggest new relationships, and also just even your current relationships can be revitalized and sort of made new again, if you will, through this aspect and following the next few weeks after this new moon as well. And I do just have to say real quick, so again, the new moon is opposing you, so it is having a new beginning, in your relationships, in other people. And people in your life could have new things happen to them, so they're experiencing this as like new, new activity, new energy. The focus is all on them, and you may experience that through them. It's interesting how astrology pertains not only to ourselves, but it can indicate things, in the people in your life as well, not just you personally. So yeah, there could be new developments, new things, new changes, and new energy and power for people that you're involved with, and that's good. You can experience that vicariously, but again, it's just kind of difficult because the focus isn't so much on you. It's you're almost kind of like a little bit of a bystander at this time. I don't want to be too negative about it, but that's always good to have this kind of new relationships, and that's the focus for you, is like rethinking how you relate to other people and how you can like improve those dynamics. Okay, that was January. So going forward to February 5th, transiting Sun conjoins transiting Saturn at 16 degrees Aquarius. Now this is in 7th house Aquarius, so this is pointing to a new cycle, but also kind of challenges on this day, February 5th, with your relationships. Um, so there may be extra responsibility for you with people in your life, extra weight, extra stresses. This all seems so negative. It is more challenging, but it's Saturn here, so it's asking you to become more mature, to take on more responsibility, and to become kind of a leader with other people. So there's something that you kind of have to pick up involving with other people, if that makes sense. So I don't know, maybe taking care of someone, or um, doing like taking over somebody's shift or something. I don't know, taking care of work that someone else might usually do, taking care of them. I don't know, helping someone, I guess. Something involving taking more responsibility with other people, maybe leading other people in some way. Being kind of strong for other people. Um, Something of that nature. But I guess the good thing is after February 5th, you'll have this kind of new responsibility, new maturity, and new wisdom in this area. It will make you stronger in how you deal with other people. Going forward to February 16th, there is a full moon at 27 degrees Leo. Yes, technically 27, 20 degrees Leo. And so this for you is in the first house. So this is more exciting. This is a lot easier. It's in your first house, so it's in your neck of the woods. So I think this is kind of a nice little break, and it's nice kind of lining up with your energies for a little change here, and bringing you some much needed energy and vitality. The focus is kind of more on you at this time, so it is aiding your own self-expression and kind of allowing you to have maybe more fun. This could be a fun dynamic for you, kind of like almost like a party energy. Leo full moon is really great, I think, for a sort of party energy. I don't know, relaxing more, having a little fun. So this is, a pretty dramatic change. The focus isn't. I mean, it can be on your relationship since the moon is opposing the sun. That's what a full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon. So it is kind of lighting up this axis between Aquarius and Leo. So you may be still, there may be a lot of activity in your relationships, but I think with the full moon in Leo, the focus is more on you though. it's more in your self-expression. I know with your placements that I think you are a great leader. I know you're so independent and such, and so I think this is really nice. You can kind of be more independent. I think it is harder for everyone, but maybe especially you um, to have to focus so much on your relationships and have the energy, not be there for you and to be focusing on other people at the beginning of this year can be challenging. So this is a nice, more fun aspect, more playful, and definitely it's more geared toward empowering you, having you kind of feel strong and have your fire back, have your kind of swagger back, if you will. So that's just a nice full moon for you, I would say. Going forward to February 20th, transiting Venus conjoins. I'm sorry, transiting Venus and transiting Mars are pretty much conjunct, and they conjoin your natal moon at 19 degrees Capricorn. So this is interesting because you have two transiting planets, Venus and Mars, both passing over your natal moon position at the same time. This is a lot of fun as well. This is a fun aspect, not gonna lie. So, the reason why is because Venus and Mars both kind of rule over desire and what we are attracted to, what we want. It's that it has a lot to do with like pleasure, also a lot to do with like sexuality. Mars is sort of the planet of sex, and Venus is the planet of romance. And so, combining them together, it can be very flirtatious, very romantic. It's all about desire again. So and conjoining your moon, I think this would actually make you very desirable at this time, very intensely, for this little span of time here. Like I don't know. It's nice when you have Venus and Mars agreeing with you in this way because it's almost like they are kind of lifting you up and empowering you. Um, and that for you, this is at a core level. So it's almost like you are just naturally radiating this energy and this beauty at this time. Like people are very attracted to you at this time, I would say, with this transit. This is, and not just like definitely sexually or romantically, but also just like in your regular everyday mannerisms. I don't know, like your jokes are funnier. If you make a change to your appearance, it will probably look good at this time. Um, People just find you more pleasant, more entertaining. They desire you more, and you're focused more on your desires at this time as well. And it's easier for you to know what your desires are and to go out and get them. So, this is a really beautiful aspect. It's a lot of fun, and you can also use this, to get what you want. So, what are your ambitions? Mars has a lot to do with ambitions. Venus too, a little bit, in our desires. Um, so you can kind of focus on your goals. You are so goal oriented with your Capricorn moon, and this is what it's lighting up here. So maybe it's not, of course, we can always have those pleasant experiences with other people, the nice conversations or the flirtation or just the witty banter, funny conversations, whatever it is. That can be nice for you, but I think you may be also very much like focused on goals. You're a pragmatic person. You want things of value, things that are going to affect you for the long term. So this is also a nice aspect for getting a lot of work done too, making strides in accomplishing your goals, and also resetting your goals, revisiting what do you want and how are you going to get what you want. So in short, this is a really great aspect, really fun, and kind of empowering you. The ball's in your court here more so in February. Oh, and this kind of goes forward to February 21st. This aspect is still pretty close, so really this whole, a few days on either side. So we could say maybe February 16th through 24th or so. Um, this dynamic is really playing out through this whole time, but it's especially strong February 20th, 21st. On February 22nd, transiting Mercury makes a third and semi-final conjunction to your descendant at 8 degrees Aquarius. Excuse me. So, okay. So this is nice, just because, so Mercury retrograded over your descendant, like I was talking about earlier. So that was difficult because it required changes in your relationships, changes in how you speak to people, talk to people, listen to people, just changes in the nature of your relationships in general. Over this past month or so, you may have, met with people from your past, old friends, old lovers, or maybe it's family. You may have like gone back and revisited those people. everything in your social life was kind of being rethought of and changed, tweaked, and edited. Now, with Mercury finally direct and making this final pass, because Mercury crossed this area going forward, and then it retrograded and went backward over this area, and then now it's finally going forward, for a third and final time direct. This is suggesting that you are moving forward now. So you've made those changes with your social life, with your interactions. A lot has changed there. You've pretty much integrated that now, and so now you're kind of dealing with those same themes, but in a much more linear and forward-moving way. And this is a lot easier as well. And then now all these planets are direct. Mercury's direct, Venus is direct. So yes, the focus is on your relationships and other people, but it's a lot easier now. The hard work has mostly been done, and so now you can kind of move forward and make a lot more progress. That's the word I was looking for earlier, was progress. But so that's nice. That's nice. We can kind of move forward, and you can kind of get on with your life and not have to. Mercury retrograde is nice for kind of gaining insight and knowledge and making those necessary changes, but it's difficult. It's more challenging, I would say. So now on February 22nd, you're going forward. You're kind of done with all that, and you're, I don't know, you're proceeding confidently. It's easier at this time now, socially. Going forward to February 25th, transiting. Oh, okay. So February 25th through 27th, I just noticed in general that there's a lot of focus in Capricorn. We have Pluto, Mars, Venus, and now the Moon, like 4 planets, if we count the Moon as a planet, all in Capricorn, February 25th, 26th, and 27th. For you, Capricorn falls into, again, 6th house, and it's where your Moon is. So this would suggest there is a lot of activity in the realm of your health and, all that maintenance stuff I was talking about. So, like fixing problems, dealing with problems, and focusing on other people, which is definitely not fun. It's one of the harder houses to deal with. But I think you have Venus and Mars transiting there. So that means you're getting extra work done and maybe even getting enjoyment out of solving these problems, and dealing with that maintenance of life, health or whatever it is. This suggests that Venus and Mars do make things kind of easier when they're on your side, generally speaking. So, so the focus is on maintenance, small tasks, problems. But I think you're getting more work done there, and it's easier for you, and it's more enjoyable with Mars and Venus there in particular. So that's good, I suppose. Okay, that's what I have for February. So now begins the next chapter, if you will. Okay, so March I kind of just have on its own here. March, the focus is mostly on Aquarius and Pisces, and so for you, Aquarius and Pisces are your 7th and 8th houses. So now the planets have kind of the inner planets that we're focusing on here, they've kind of rounded about this corner and have crossed over your descendant mostly. Venus and Mars are lagging behind here at the beginning of March, but they've mostly crossed over your descendant. Now they're going into these 7th and 8th houses here, Aquarius and Pisces for you. So this means that the focus continues to be on relationships, but it's also getting into your 8th house, and your Jupiter return is really gearing up now as well. So this suggests not only focus on relationships, but also on shared resources, finances. Do you have debt, or do people owe you money? 8th house brings up, finances that are, I don't know, complex or sometimes out of our controls that are shared. So a lot of times it is debt or inheritance. I don't know, taxation. Like I said in your birth chart reading, you have Jupiter in 8th house, which can suggest large amounts of debt, but also inheritance throughout your life. So, so with the planets, kind of gearing up to go into your 8th house, especially with your Jupiter return happening in that area, this would suggest change happening in your finances. So I'd be careful, because you could you could rack up a lot of debt at this time, but you could also, pay off a lot of debt or gain a lot of inheritance. It just suggests a lot of change in that area for you, kind of as we get into March here. So hopefully that makes sense. But that's something to look forward here. Okay, going into the specifics. March 2nd, we have a new moon at 12 degrees Pisces, and it's very close to your Jupiter, which is at 16 degrees Pisces. And it's in your 8th house, I guess I would say, just after the 7th house here. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of echo myself a little bit again here, um, that would suggest a new beginning, a new cycle in terms of debts, shared resources, inheritance. This is not super unusual. I mean, this happens every year, a new moon in this area. It happens every March or so, late February. But it is a little bit different this year just because Jupiter, transiting Jupiter is there as well. It's at 14 degrees Pisces. So it's right in between the new moon and your natal Jupiter placement at 16 degrees Pisces. So this does suggest opportunities for expansion in this area. And that's where I say it can go either way. You could expand your debt or you could expand, I don't know, inheritance or, I don't know, someone or maybe multiple people owing you money, having to pay you for some reason. So so I would be wary of like investments at this time, just because they could swing in any direction. It's sort of unpredictable. Jupiter generally brings luck and fortune and expansion, but it can sometimes expand things that we don't necessarily want. So I mean, it's always good to kind of focus on what you want, have that positive, the law of attraction, positive thinking. But at the same time, I'd be a little bit cautious. I would have some moderation here. Don't go crazy spending, just bring a lot of moderation to things. And I think if you have that kind of moderation approach, you will attract abundance. Just, definitely don't fear this, but just use common sense pretty much. And this is an opportunity for a new beginning, so maybe a new clearing away of debt or new. I'm trying to think of some other, not just inheritance, but some other situation where you would collect a large sum of money, because that could happen at this time. It's just a little hard to say exactly which direction that would go. March 6th through 7th, transiting Sun conjoins your natal Jupiter at 16 degrees Pisces. So this is kind of more of the same energy. I mean, this is more positive. I guess Sun is kind of energizing your Jupiter. Um, Jupiter does focus too on what we sort of believe in, our beliefs, our philosophies, and so with Sun conjoining your Jupiter, and this is in Pisces after all, too. You have Jupiter in domicile in Pisces, so you're naturally blessed. You're naturally fortunate with, thinking spiritually or accessing those kind of non-physical ways of being. That spirituality, that adaptiveness at a soul level, that soulfulness. You're naturally good at expanding in those areas, and the sun is just kind of shining the light here, pointing to this area, and giving you an opportunity to grow in these areas as well, to grow in your beliefs and your spirituality at this time. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, that applies to March 7th as well. March 13th is your exact Jupiter return. Now, I told you that, this applies to most of this year, I would say. Um, okay. So with Jupiter, your Jupiter return, most of this year, this would bring about a lot of ease and harmony. And this is nice too. I think January was a little hard for you. So by now, with your Jupiter return really in full swing, with the exact Jupiter return, Jupiter coming around to that exact place where it was when you were born. This would suggest a lot of luck, abundance, expansion for you. Expansion, Jupiter can bring like wealth and abundance, for instance. It can also bring abundance of like knowledge, wisdom. Jupiter likes us to kind of think about the big. It's very philosophical, so it likes us to think about the big questions of life. So this is really great. This can, it can also result in new situations or experiences for you where you would gain knowledge or wisdom. Um, and this really isn't like, little tidbits of information. That would be more like Mercury, where you're just kind of like reading facts or whatever. This is more like, wisdom, knowledge. Like in ancient times, it always ruled the church or the universities. You're, gaining this like powerful knowledge or wisdom at this time. So Jupiter can bring about that for you. It can also just bring about ease, just kind of harmony and good times. It can make you kind of want to party and overindulge. That's another potentially negative side of Jupiter aspects, that you can be kind of larger than life and you can kind of go overboard. You might be prone to extremes at this time. But of course, I would just say use common sense, have moderation, and you can definitely get some pleasurable experiences out of this. Maybe have some good times around this time, um, and just kind of utilize this expansion that Jupiter will bring. But hopefully that makes sense. I know that was a little rambly, but hopefully that kind of hopefully I articulated some of the themes of Jupiter that it could bring about with this Jupiter return on this day. Going forward to March 15th, transiting Venus right here conjoins your descendant at 8 degrees Aquarius. And then actually just in a couple days on March 17th, Mars will be at this place as well at 8 degrees Aquarius. So starting out March 15th, Venus conjoining your descendant is kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I talked about this before with Mercury and Sun crossing over this place, that it can be difficult, especially with these planets opposing your Sun as well and your ascendant. It can be difficult because the focus is on other people. Other people in your life are more empowered and having new developments happen to them, not so much with you. Your focus is mostly just on them, on the people in your life, so that can be more challenging because it's a low point in the energy for you. It can also feel like these energies are like clashing with you, or like literally opposing you. So you might feel like people are kind of against you a little bit, or it's like with Venus and Mars all the way on the other side from your Sun and ascendant. It's like you're not especially valued at this time. Like it's not your time of the year to shine, if that makes sense. The limelight is more like on other people at this time. So that can be challenging. Can be kind of a low point in the energy. But it can also be good because you can have extra pleasurable experiences with other people at this time. Venus, it's kind of a mixed bag. It can kind of feel alienating, feel like you're not as desirable as usual, but or that kind of ease and grace just isn't there. But at the same time, with Venus conjoining your descendant, it can indicate that you're having interactions with Venus type people. So interacting with people that are very attractive or pleasurable, desirable, people that are easygoing, funny, that type of thing. So you can have those kind of positive experiences that way. And then going forward to March 17th, this would, with Mars on the descendant, this would indicate interactions with people that are maybe more sexual, more masculine, more kind of testosterone, more competitive. So that's kind of a mixed bag as well. On the downside, it could result in like people being aggressive with you or competitive, or you might feel like people are trying to like fight you at this time. People are being hostile. But then the plus side is, you have definitely fiery energy. You can be a little bit maybe competitive at times, I think. So you can kind of play off this and enjoy that, healthy competition as well. And it could bring out some kind of like sexual experiences too with, Mars on the descendant. So that could be good, maybe, I guess. So it's kind of just a mixed bag, but this basically means Mars is characterizing your interactions and relationships on the 17th. So kind of more masculine dynamic there. Okay, going forward to March 18th, we have a full moon at 28 degrees Virgo. For you, this is in your second house. 28 degrees Virgo is in your second house. it's not, really aspecting anything in your chart. This is not the most hard-hitting full moon for you. It's not life-changing by any means for you. But it is kind of it is showing increased activity with your finances, so maybe making more money at this time. Um, Really, that's all I can say. It's not a big deal. It's just showing increased. So you could be like spending more at this time, but also making more money at this time. That's common with second house transits and aspects like this. Just general more activity in your money. And this isn't money like, debts and inheritances. It's more like money like cash in your pocket. More money going into your pocket, more money going out of your pocket at this time with this full moon. So I would say to utilize this however you want. You could um, maybe curtail your spending, but I mean, sometimes it's hard because with these second house placements, we want things that may improve our lives. So maybe it's good to spend that money. But then also you can focus more on the gaining of finances as well. It's up to you how you want to utilize that. But this full moon just generally shows increased activity with your finances. March 19th through 20th, transiting Mercury, 16 degrees at Jupiter. Transiting Mercury at 16 degrees Jupiter. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Transiting Mercury at 16 degrees Pisces conjoins your natal Jupiter, which is at 16 degrees Pisces. So, okay. So this kind of just brings about more activity again with your a lot of things with maybe your finances, with shared resources, inheritance, debt. But I think more than that, Mercury conjoining your Jupiter shows you're thinking and communicating in a way that's very expansive. So you're maybe thinking more about these kind of philosophical or this sort of these high ideals, high knowledge or wisdom. You're focused more on like learning about these like big ideas, big concepts, philosophies at this time, acquiring that hidden information maybe. Um, it could be. This is a very educational transit, and potentially, and then it also just indicates more activity, more expansive activity. So you could be very busy at this time, very busy learning a lot, interacting with people, shifting your paradigm a little bit, asking the bigger questions. So all that is kind of on the table for March 19th. Going forward to March 28th through 29th, we're jumping forward a little bit here. Transiting Venus at 21. Oh, I see. Okay. Transiting Venus conjoins transiting Saturn at 21 degrees Aquarius. So for you, this is in 7th house, of course, 7th house Aquarius. We talked about how this is your area of relationships. So this is interesting, I think. This would indicate maybe, let's see. It's interesting when Venus and Saturn conjoin because it's interesting how they're very difficult, but they do have some things in common. So, okay. So Saturn, like I said earlier, is challenging your relationships and asking you to be more responsible, more wise in these areas, take on more responsibility with relationships, set boundaries. Now Venus is here, so Venus is bringing flair and ease and grace to your relationships, and so it's a very different energy. It's bringing more pleasure in your relationships, suggesting you're interacting with like pleasurable people or attractive people at this time. And having these combined together is very interesting because it shows that it's like there's a beauty that can be had with other people at this time, especially, but it's something that needs to be met with structure or boundaries. So like I've heard, I can't remember where I heard this, but I've heard Venus Saturn conjunctions are like, it's like a garden that's walled. It's surrounded by barriers, but those barriers and that structure are necessary to making that garden beautiful. Or it could be like, a piece of artwork that's very structured. So that's kind of applying to your relationships at this time. There's this beauty and harmony there, but that beauty in your relationships, your interactions, there must be structure and responsibility and, dedication and discipline in order to achieve that kind of beauty there and that pleasure with other people. So hopefully that makes sense. But, having this conjunction there just suggests that kind of new developments, in those areas with structured beauty, structured, pleasurable interactions or relationships. Hopefully that makes sense. Some of these are kind of hard to articulate, but it's kind of fun. Okay, March 28th through 29th, we also have transiting Sun at 8 degrees Aries. Now this is really nice. This is a really fun, strong aspect for you because March at 8 degrees of March, Sun at 8 degrees of Aries trines your natal Sun and ascendant at 8 degrees of Leo. So, okay. So it's a trine aspect. Trines are strong. They're easy. I've heard an astrologer describe trines as lazy aspects because it does make things easier for you. And so it's up to you. I think when things become easier, we can either use that to make extra progress and to really, go out and conquer the world, if you will. But on the other hand, you can also just kick back and relax and just take advantage, be lazy with it. So it's up to you. I mean, I think either choice is valid or you can do a little bit of both. But this aspect suggests things are easier for you at this time. You're feeling more confident, more kind of expressive, more strong. And things, like I said, are just kind of a little bit generally easier. And with the sun, I mean, this really sets the kind of overall tone. This kind of sets the overall tone for your reality around this day, give or take a day maybe. So that's really nice. I would say enjoy that and use that however you wish. Kind of, flaunt your eccentricities. Really just keep in mind that you're extra powerful at this time. I mean, that's something that you should always think because it will be true to manifest it. But the sun is supporting that right now for sure. March 28th through 29th. And going forward to March 31st, Mercury at 8 degrees of Aries also makes that trine. So again, that's just it's a similar energy, especially because the sun is still within range of that trine. So I mean, it's a lot of the same things. It's just showing that your daily routine and your interactions and your thinking and communications and just kind of everything in your life, for these few days at the end of March is really strong, I think, and I don't know, relatively easy. Okay, that was all of March. For this next segment for April, May, and June, I group all of them together because for these 3 months here, April, May, and June, the focus is on your 9th, 10th, and 11th houses. You have a lot of we all have a lot of planets transiting through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So you can see here, starting in April, there's this huge cluster here, and so there's this huge cluster here, and then they will go through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini over the next few months, April, May, and June. And so for you, this is the top of your chart here, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all at the top, kind of by your midheaven. So for you, these 3 months, you are very much in the public eye. Like, so you're getting a lot of attention right now. You're very visible, especially in your place of work. And that's good or bad, I mean, there's a lot that comes with that. It's more responsibility. It's more, I don't know, more action for you, I guess. More action with your career, professional life, your social networks, your public image or your reputation. All that is more visible, more activity in those areas for April, May, and June. So we start this off on April 1st with a new moon at 11 degrees Aries. 11. So this is nice because it is in your 9th house. It's close to your midheaven, and it's also making a loose trine with your sun and ascendant. So this is supporting you, asking for the bigger questions of life, asking for the bigger answers, I guess. It's showing, a new beginning involving higher learning, but it's also just trining with your sun and ascendant. So it's showing extra power and vitality for you at this time. It's just making things easier for you, and it's also a potential new beginning for you. So that's really empowering. All these planets here kind of clustering together in Aries. It's really nice, not only because it's beginning to empower your midheaven, so you're beginning to empower your career and public image. But like I said, they're also trining your sun and ascendant, so bringing about that strong energy, that confidence, and that ease to things, making things easy for you and stronger for you. Going forward to April 5th, transiting Mars. Transiting Mars conjoins transiting Saturn at 22 degrees Aquarius. This is, of course, in your 7th house, so this brings about difficulty or challenges, aggression or tension with your interactions. So you may have a lot of weight and be more responsible, but you're dealing with people that are more aggressive or competitive with you. More, masculine, more dominant, more, maybe sexual or competitive. I don't know. So that could be challenging. There could be this extra weight there with these. These are two malefics, Mars and Saturn, so they're generally more challenging. Mars is fun when it's on your side and giving you that confidence and that gusto, but it just kind of depends on where it's at, though. In the 7th house, it suggests you're dealing with competitive people. So that could be good. Like I said, if you're bringing that competitive, fiery energy to the table as well, you can kind of meet that. I would just say to be careful, I guess, with other people. It can be maybe strenuous at times dealing with other people right now on April 5th. It can be kind of stressful dealing with people. So, I don't really know what to say about that other than to just kind of wait it out. I mean, this aspect won't be here for very long. Mars will move on, so it will definitely pass. Going forward to April 8th, transiting Mercury conjoins your midheaven at 25 degrees Aries. This is nice because it's just showing that you are more active, so you may be very busy in your place of work, in your career, talking to a lot of different people, speaking a lot, maybe writing or reading a lot as well, learning a lot for your career, teaching for your career, and just generally more active as well. So that's a good placement. It's a good transit, I think, because it's just kind of increasing the activity for you in your career. Going forward to April 12th, transiting Jupiter conjoins transiting Neptune at 23 degrees Pisces. So, okay, so this is just important because it's two relatively outer planets conjoining, so this is pretty rare. So it kind of shifts things in a more long-term or global way. And for you in particular, it's in your 8th house of Pisces, so this could bring about sudden dissolving. This could bring about sudden dissolving of your debts or inheritances again. 8th house kind of controls all that, those shared resources as well. So it could be kind of like almost like a meltdown or just, the structure being kind of lost with those finances, debts, inheritances. So this can go either way. This can bring about, confusion, but also growth. So it's hard to say which way it would go. It has the potential to bring massive debt suddenly, or massive, inheritance or dissolving of debt. I guess that's all I'm going to say. I'll let you kind of think about that and apply that how you will, but there's that potential on April 12th here. Going forward to April 5th, transiting Sun conjoins your midheaven at 25 degrees Aries. This is really awesome because transiting Sun is just empowering you emboldening you, making you more confident in your place of work and in public, wherever you're kind of the most seen. So in public, at your place of work, in your career, you're having this new energy, new vitality, new confidence in those areas and kind of shining more brightly. Again, you are more visible now, especially with this aspect. Um, so yeah, I think that's good. I don't know, it's good to have the sun on your side in your place of career, making you more confident, more visible in those areas. Maybe taking more initiative, um, taking charge, that type of thing. April 16th, there's a full moon at 26 degrees Libra. So for you, it's very close to your IC-MC axis. So this axis, IC on this, they always oppose each other exactly. The IC represents your home life, your foundation, where you come from, so your past, your childhood, but also your home life and your foundation. And then the midheaven is opposite that, so it's kind of where you're going. It's your professional life, it's your career, your public image. Um, and so with the full moon kind of lighting up that axis here, the full moon at 26 degrees Libra, I think the focus becomes more on what do you want, like on a fundamental level. That's also having to do with the IC. It's very simple, it's like your core, like I said. So it's just, what do you just instinctively want at a deep level? And sometimes that can be opposing, our commitments, our obligations, our career, our public image, where we have to deal with the world and other people. IC is like yourself and your career, not your career, it's almost kind of primitive in a way. It's just, it's very simplistic. Just what do you want? What do you desire? What motivates you? But that on a core fundamental level is what fuels, your career and public image on the outside and, the nature of how you go about your obligations and commitments in your career and such. So anyway, with that background information in mind, the full moon is lighting up your IC, so it's lighting up your foundation, um, your and it's lighting up that opposition as well, since the sun is, conjunct the midheaven still, like I said. So I think this kind of brings about this push and pull between what is your career, what is your reputation, what are you seen as being, and how does that line up with what you want at a fundamental level, and your core instincts and desires. How does that match up with your career, your lifestyle? Do they match up? Because there can be a huge clash at this time, but I think this can be good for resetting and revisiting. What do you truly want deep down? What do you desire? Because if that doesn't match up with your career, it must, be changed in some way. I'm not saying you are going to get a new job today necessarily, but just, maybe revitalize, rethink how you approach these things, and make sure that you're conveying, your inner self, that inner, again, it's very primitive. It's just, at a fundamental level, what do you want? What do you think is right? What do you believe in? And then learning to convey that and channel that through your career and public image. So that's kind of what this full moon is asking you to do, pretty much. Hopefully that makes sense. Going forward to April 17th, transiting Venus at 13 degrees Pisces makes a trine to your natal Venus, which is at 13 degrees Cancer. And this is nice too, because the moon is in Scorpio, so the moon is also trining your Venus at this time. So your Venus is making a kind of grand trine, so like a three-way trine, making a triangle with Venus in Pisces and Moon in Scorpio. So this day is really excellent for excuse me. Okay. This day is excellent just for, I don't know, getting some enjoyment, some pleasure, some beauty out of the mix. It would make you very pleasurable, or very, beautiful, or like not only physically, like for instance, so your physical appearance might be really good. Changes to your physical appearance would probably go well at this time with Venus, and the moon agreeing with you. and aspecting your Venus, but also not even just physically, but you're just generally more desirable this time. So, like I said, Venus does this when it agrees with you. It kind of just makes you naturally more appealing to people. So, um, you're, I don't know, people just enjoy your presence extra much so with this aspect. Um, they see you as extra easygoing, extra, just easy to be around, easy to work with, extra pleasant. So you're more funny than usual, more beautiful than usual. This is really nice, I'm not gonna lie, it's a nice transit to have. So that's definitely fun. It can also be good for bringing harmony to your finances and your relationships as well. Going forward to April 20th, transiting Venus at 16 degrees Pisces conjoins your Jupiter at 16 degrees Pisces. This is excellent because it brings about luck, fortune, abundance. And I don't know, I could see this going a couple different ways. Since Jupiter is in your 8th house, it could bring about some really positive developments with shared resources, taxes, debts, loans, inheritance, shared resources, all that stuff, investments. There can be some really positive gains here with Venus, so maybe, wise investments that are made at this time, or, getting payments, um, making money off of investments at this time, or, I don't know, getting paid out some kind of money at this time, or something of that nature. Also, with it affecting your Jupiter, I could also see it as you acquiring, higher knowledge at this time as well, something of that nature. But it's generally very positive. Venus, transiting Venus is controlling your natal Jupiter. These are both benefics. They're two of the easiest planets to work with. So this is just bringing a lot of harmony and ease to your situation. This is one of the most positive, easiest placements, or I mean, aspects rather to experience. So that's definitely good, bringing some warmth and harmony to this day here. Also on April 20th, Sun enters Taurus. So as the Sun enters Taurus, it's this, I would say Taurus, loosely fits with your 10th house. I don't get really specific into houses, I'm not going to lie. But I'll just say, Taurus generally corresponds to your 10th house, I would say. And so the area is very much on your career, your public image. Like I said, you're more noticeable at this time. Um, and you're seen as more powerful or more vibrant. People notice you more. So that's good. It's a good, it's good to have plants at the top of your house, transiting or otherwise. Um, let's see here. Like for instance, a lot of celebrities will have a lot of planets in their 10th house natally. So you don't have a lot of planets 10th house natally, but you're experiencing this as a transit. So you're kind of experiencing more of that, not saying you're going to become a celebrity, but you're gaining that recognition and that, visibility in your life, for this time here, starting on April 20th. Really, it was already kind of happening before April 20th, but it's just even more so on April 20th once Sun enters Taurus. Okay, going forward to April 25th. Oh, okay, so I just wanted to notate April 25th through 27th. There's this huge cluster in Pisces: Moon, Mars, Jupiter. I'm sorry, Moon, Mars, Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter in order. Will all be in Pisces for April 25th, 26th, 27th. Again, for you, that's loosely corresponding to your 8th house and your Jupiter. So a lot of expansion for you, but also a lot of increased activity with debts, finances, loans, inheritance, taxes, whatever kind of money is shared between you and other people. And usually it's large amounts of money. I can't say whether it be you owing people or people owing you. I can't say exactly which way the money would be flowing, but there is a lot of focus there. Maybe changes in your investments. With Venus and Mars here, there is that increased desire in this area and increased motivation. You're getting more bang for your buck, if you will, with energy that you put into this area at this time. And the moon is just bringing the general focus here. Jupiter's bringing expansion, and it's also just bringing you general expansion and well-being with your Jupiter return. So this is mostly positive, I would say. Of course, there's the potential to rack up a lot of debt with an, a transit like this. But at the same time, I think if you just work in this area at all, if you put thought into your investments or your finances, or put work into that area, I think it will be extra rewarding for you at this time. You could see a lot of results there. So I think it's definitely at least maybe, April 25th, 26th, 27th would be at least a good time to just kind of revisit your finances and kind of rethink those areas. And, you could do it in a maybe positive way, have fun with it. Just be, have a little bit of caution, I guess. Um, but, Venus and Mars are showing that your desire is kind of naturally there at this time anyway. It's something related to those finances. April 30th, there's a new moon at 10 degrees Taurus. Let's see here. So, okay. So for you, this is in your 10th house. Yes. It's not really aspecting anything in your chart. So again, this is not life changing. It's not going to be super intense for you. But a new moon in your 10th house is nice because it invites you to have a sort of new beginning, new developments, new increased activity in your career and public profile. So that's just nice to have. Again, it's not super intense or life changing, but it's just bringing about new energy, new revitalization, a new approach with your career and your work, your public profile. So that's a good new moon. That was April. Going forward to May 1st. Transiting Mars, where to go? Transiting Mars at 12 degrees Pisces conjoins your. I'm sorry. It trines your natal Saturn. Transiting Mars at 12 degrees Pisces trines your natal Saturn at 12 degrees Cancer. Okay, so this could maybe bring about positive change in regard to your structure. Um, hmm. With like I talked about in your birth chart reading, natal Saturn in Cancer means that you have challenges and extra weight and responsibility in terms of the household, your home, your family. You're meant to be a leader there, but it's something that is initially very challenging. That you don't have this, you don't inherit it. It's not natural for you to have this um, feeling of security, feeling of family or home, especially at a young age. It's something you have to work for and eventually accomplish later in life. So, at least that's how I would see it, so with Mars trining this aspect here that you have, this placement that you have, it would show maybe increased gains in this area, increased ambition. So maybe, I don't know, um, gaining something in this area, making new progress or new changes in regard to your home and family, something of that nature. We also have transiting Venus at 28 degrees Pisces, conjoining Jupiter also at 28 degrees Pisces, and they are in your 8th house again. So, like I said, Jupiter and Venus are two benefics. They're very easy to work with. Both bring about, abundance and harmony and good times, pleasure. And so having these combined together in your 8th house means that you might have new accomplishments, new progress involving debts, finances, shared resources. There's an ease there. There's an abundance that's brought there. You could come across like a large amount of money at this time, or maybe pay off a lot of debt. And this is a little bit unusual. Like I said, Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the whole cycle. So you only have a Venus Jupiter conjunction in your 8th house once every 12 years or so. So this definitely is, kind of a big deal. And it is really positive, really strong aspect. Um, in its worst forms, I guess both Venus and Jupiter can make us extra focused on our desires, and we can overindulge. So it could result in you like overspending or overindulging, for instance. That could be a more negative side of this, and then racking up some debt from that. But I think as long as you have common sense and like don't overindulge at this time, then you can make a lot of you can gain a lot of abundance from this, kind of just naturally, I think, without having to really do a whole lot. Okay, going forward to May 2nd, transiting Mars it trines your natal Venus at 13 degrees. Well, transiting Mars is at 13 degrees Pisces, so it trines your natal Venus at 13 degrees Cancer. Like I said, when Venus and Mars are aspecting one another, it's very like sexual or flirtatious, very romantic. Also makes us very focused on our desires. So you could have a positive interaction, like maybe romantic interaction with male characters in your life at this time, or let's see what else here. Or it could just show that you're generally more focused on your desires as well, more focused on getting like what you want, more focused on pleasurable experiences. And this is nice. It's kind of a fun aspect. Could just show that you're having like fun interactions with people as well in general. Okay, May 4th through 5th, transiting Sun conjoins transiting Uranus at 14 degrees Taurus. And this is in your 10th house, so this is showing potential for dramatic change in your career. Let's see, it could also bring about revelations, so new awakening, new shifts in consciousness, uncovering, like you could just have breakthroughs at this time in your career. So just realizing, really life-changing information or really profound information. And it could be just something that you've been looking at for a while, and you just look at things from a different way at this time. It's very unpredictable. It's like this new knowledge or this new perspective kind of just comes out of nowhere on May 4th. But it does change things. It does bring about some potentially dramatic change in your career and reputation. So definitely something to look out for. This, I wouldn't say this is like positive or negative really. It can be both. It is disruptive in your career, but it can also lead to change and to evolution. It can bring you to a better situation, or increased consciousness is of course hard because with power comes responsibility. Increased consciousness requires more responsibility, and we have to apply the information that we find or the new perspective that we gain. We have to apply that, and that can be challenging, it can be disruptive, but it's also good for getting us to a better situation. And that applies to May 5th as well, I would say. And then, okay, whoops, oh, I just skipped way ahead here. May 6th, transiting Mars conjoins your natal Jupiter. So this is kind of the last of these more inner planets to conjoin your natal Jupiter here at 16 degrees Pisces. So this could show sudden ambition and desire in regard to higher learning, but also debts, inheritances, shared resources. Could show friction in all these areas, and again in higher learning as well. But also more desire there. You're more ambitious in these areas. I would just say to be cautious because Mars can bring about accidents. It can bring about collisions or metaphorical or otherwise. So I'd just say to be cautious, but then to kind of use this extra fire or motivation with your finances and higher learning at this time. Okay, May 9th. So May 9th through June 2nd, Mercury will retrograde in early Gemini and late Taurus. And for you, this is right around your 10th house, I would say. Okay, so Mercury retrograding in this area for you from May 9th, so most of May really, May 9th through June 2nd, is it's asking you to rethink things in your career, make changes, revisit things. You have to adapt in your career. Um, let's see here. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty simple. It can be kind of dysfunctional to experience because things aren't flowing smoothly, or they're not flowing like they normally do. It's not business as usual. Everything's kind of in change and in flux with your career. This is necessary for gaining new insight, new information, and making necessary changes. And that's kind of you may hear me kind of echoing some similar themes from May 4th and 5th with that, Sun Uranus conjunction in your 10th house. I think, like I said, these months here, there's a lot of focus on your career. So with Mercury retrograde here, there is some dysfunction for the meantime until early June, but this too, is necessary for gaining about positive change and increased awareness. Going forward to May, well, we're already on May 9th, already past May 9th. Transiting Sun at 19 degrees Taurus trines your natal moon at 19 degrees Capricorn. So this is just generally positive. It's strengthening who you are on a fundamental level. So I think that's really nice to have. These these transiting planets are trining your moon. So you are experiencing these changes with your career, your reputation, and such, which can be challenging or distressing. But all this time, these placements are trining your moon, so you're feeling inwardly very confident. You know who you are. You know what you believe in and where you're at on a core level. And I think that is really helpful with these changes to your career, that you can, face these changes and adjust to these because you have this consistency, at least on an emotional core level, through these changes in your career. So that's good. I think that's good, definitely, to have here. And the sun trining your moon just kind of strengthens that. Also on May 9th, transiting Venus at 8 degrees Aries trines your Sun and Ascendant at 8 degrees Leo. So this too is really great for just reaffirming who you are. Like, I think you're on the right track. Like, you yourself are stable at this time. You are vibing. You're good. You're effective. You're productive. You know where you're at. You're confident. And so that's really great to have these trines as you're, having these changes with your career. So yeah, I don't know. It's almost like the change is more. It's interesting because like you yourself would be stable at this time, but your career is changing. So yeah, definitely very interesting. Going forward to May 14th, transiting Mars at 22 degrees Pisces, trines your natal Mercury at 22 degrees Cancer. So this could bring about some kind of ambition and competitiveness with your thinking, with how you articulate, how you're learning, your interactions with other people, the daily rhythm, also the rhythm of your day and your tasks throughout the day, your short distance travel. All of these things are kind of benefited by this healthy competitive energy, this ambitious energy with Mars making this trine here. So that's good just for having that extra stamina and motivation. May 15th through 16th, full moon at 25 degrees Scorpio, and it's not just a full moon. It's right around midnight, so that's why I didn't pin it to an exact date here. It's either very late on the 15th or very early on the 16th. But it's not just the full moon, it's the full moon lunar eclipse at 25 degrees Scorpio. So for you, this is in your 4th house. This is lighting up your 4th and 10th houses. And so for this eclipse, let's see, 25 degrees. I mean, it does trine your Mercury. This too is not super life-changing. You don't have any planets right around here. There's that trine with your Mercury, but it's kind of like a super full moon, an eclipse. So it is indicating increased drama and increased energy, especially in your home. This is in your fourth house, so your place of home and family. There could be more activity there, more energy, more drama. I don't think this is super life changing, just because like I said, you don't have a lot of placements in this area. But I would expect just kind of crazy stuff happening around this time. more activity, more, I don't know, theatrics with home and family. Just general. I know that's kind of general, but that's really how I see it. Kind of just general increased activity. Going forward to May 21st, transiting Sun conjoins transiting Mercury, which is still retrograde at 0 degrees Gemini. So this is interesting. It's in your 10th house. Well, looks like maybe 11th house, maybe 10th house. Or I'm sorry, 0 degrees Gemini. No, that's definitely 10th house. So this too is bringing about changes in your career and in your reputation. I don't know, and it again, it will be kind of dysfunctional. Mercury's retrograde, so things are changing. There's disruptions. There's plans that are being interrupted at this time. But change is of course hard, but it's good. This is part of a process that will get you more. It's disruptive as you'll go through it, as it's happening, but afterward you'll have more clarity, more insight with your career. So this is disruptive and causing change in your career and your reputation, but it's all necessary. You're gaining knowledge out of this. Going forward, whoops, not that far. Going forward to May 24th. Transiting Venus, where'd it go? 25 degrees. Aries conjoins your ascendant. Conjoins your midheaven. So that's really great because Venus, like I said, it makes you extra desirable and brings desire and beauty to things, and it's conjoining your midheaven, which rules your career and public image. And so that means you are extra desirable in your career, and your public image is extra, beautiful. It's easy for people to appreciate you at work in your career. People see you as being more attractive, physically and otherwise. They just, they appreciate what you do more. They appreciate your information. They appreciate your presence. Venus just has that effect on people. It makes you, more charismatic, more pleasant, more funny, more, just nice to be around in general. So all that is just really nice, kind of, making you extra desirable on a career and public image level. And as we conclude this last week of May here, all the planets are clustering right in this area. Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces. So they're all kind of right in this area here. So again, this is all the very top of your chart. So this is powerful. You are, like I said, you're almost like a little bit of a celebrity in your own life. Like, you have all the attention right now. People notice you. People, see you as being powerful and interesting, and they notice you at your work, especially. So that's just very powerful to have. Generally positive. Of course, it can be difficult being in the limelight like that, and maybe having more attention or responsibility than normal. That can be challenging, but generally speaking, I think this is really positive and really good for you. The ball is definitely in your court. You have, like, you're dealt a good hand. You have, kind of some power that comes with this, with this strong energy in your reputation and such. So yeah, definitely nice to have here as we conclude May here. Going to May 29th. Transiting Mars at 3 degrees Aries, it conjoins transiting Jupiter and 3 degrees Aries. So this is, 8th house, maybe close to your 9th house here. But it's in Aries, so it is making a trine with your Sun and Ascendant, kind of loosely. Um, so I think this is nice. This is bringing about some new ambition, new expansion, um, and it's agreeing with you. It's emboldening you and strengthening you. It's strengthening your fiery traits, so making you more charismatic, confident, more decisive, more taking the lead, taking charge, taking, initiating. This aspect is really great for all of that, and it could also result in extra strides and ambition for you. I don't know whether to say eighth or ninth house really. I don't believe in like really fixed, really strong houses. So you could have extra strides, extra gains in your, income, debts, inheritance, shared resources, etc. Those large amounts of money that involve other people could have, increased ambition and gains made there. Or this could apply to your ninth house where you'd have gains in more philosophy or that higher knowledge gains in that, wisdom or higher learning. And it could be both as well. Let me get some water here. These are so long. Okay. May 29th to 30th as well, there's a new moon solar eclipse at 8 degrees Gemini. And this is in your 10th house, kind of near your 11th house. So this, let's see here, okay. So this is just really, bringing about new change, new energy in regard to your career, public image, public profile, also potentially the groups you associate with, affiliate with, and your goals, your aspirations. Um, it's all very public and very kind of future oriented. All of that has new energy to it. It's changed at this time and emboldened in a way. So I think that is powerful. You could have new gains, new goals. Um, Also, just it could help to redefine your career and your public image as well. I know there's been so much change there at this time for you. So, yeah, that's generally how I see it, really. Oh, and it is near your south node, sort of. So you could be extra good at dealing with people, communicating with people, being a chameleon with people. You'd be extra good at that at this time as well. It would touch on those skills and traits that you have. Going forward to June 2nd, Mercury stations direct at 6 degrees Taurus, or 26 degrees Taurus. So that means, Mercury's direct now. So you've gone through these trials and tribulations with Mercury retrograde, and you're coming out the other side of it now. So you've gained that confidence and um, insight and perspective in regard to your career. Gained some information with your career maybe over the past month or so. And now, after June 2nd, you are still working with these same themes of your career and these changes that have just recently happened. But now you are going full speed ahead, applying what you've learned and proceeding with extra confidence and insight, basically. Hopefully that makes sense. Also, June 2nd, I just wanted to point out this cluster in Taurus, well, and Aries, really. So again, all these planets are clustered right around your midheaven, and you're very popular, you're very visible at this time. So that's, again, it's very powerful. I just want to emphasize that. June 4th, Saturn turns retrograde at 25 degrees Aquarius. So that's where um, these changes need to be made with your relationships and your social interactions. So, how do you interact with people? What are your commitments like with other people? All of that may go through changes from June 4th through October 22nd. I know that's a long time, but Saturn will be retrograde in your seventh house during this whole time from June 4th through October 22nd. So, during this whole, almost half the year, really, um, you would have changes in the structure of your relationships and your commitments with other people at this time. So that's kind of just going on in the background for these next several months here. June 11th, transiting Venus conjoins transiting Uranus at 16 degrees Aquarius. I mean, sorry, 16 degrees Taurus. And this is in your 10th house again, so it's bringing, and it's this time we have Venus involved, so Venus brings that harmony, that abundance, it kind of smooths things over. um, so this brings about some positive changes with your reputation. I think, Uranus is unpredictable, brings those shifts, but Venus brings that harmony, so there's maybe some pleasant changes with your career at this time, pleasant shifts there. Yes, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Going forward to June 14th, whoops, there is a full moon at 23 degrees Sagittarius, and it lines up pretty closely with your nodal axis here in Gemini and Sagittarius. So, other than that, there's not a lot of really strong aspects for you, but that full moon, I think, would kind of, let's see, and okay, I think it might be very educational for you. Moon is lining up with your north node, and so you could be kind of learning more. You could be applying. I think you've gained a lot of information, over your life with South Node in Gemini natally. And now you're using that and applying it, but applying it to the real world, being passionate, being even rebellious at times. June 14th could be rebellious for you, but it's because you are sticking with what you believe in, sticking with what you know to be true, and getting maybe into some information and standing up for something you know to be true that maybe not everyone else believes that's true, and fighting for what you know is right. So that this can be kind of challenging for you, but it's also really good for your soul growth. June 21st, Sun enters Cancer. So this, I think this marks kind of a shift in things for sure because things are kind of coming back home now for you. You have a lot of your energy based on Cancer and Leo, and especially with your ascendant in Leo, this is like the pivotal point. This is the beginning and the end of your whole chart. So, so the Sun entering Cancer, it's just a shift marking the planets. They've passed through the top of your chart. Now they're kind of coming back home and coming more personal. So they're about to sort of recharge you on a more personal level as all these planets here. These are all like in your house of career and public reputation, your hopes, dreams, aspirations, all this future and big picture stuff. They will come about here. Sun, Mercury, and Venus in particular. They will come back and they'll re-strengthen and reawaken a lot of your natal placements that are in this area. So that will be kind of a shift that's coming up here. June 21st through 22nd. I wrote in my notes there's a cluster in Aries with 1, 2, 3, 4-ish planets in Aries, if we count Chiron and the moon. So again, there's continued activity in higher learning, your career, your reputation, all these kind of, big picture stuff, very visible parts of your life here. A lot of focus there. So you continue to be very visible, having a lot of power, having that strong reputation, etc. Okay, going forward to June 28th. There's a couple things on June 28th. So, transiting Mars, let's see here. Yes, transiting Mars at 25 degrees crosses over your midheaven at 25 degrees Aries. This is really great. Your midheaven is naturally ruled by Mars being in Aries, and so you naturally kind of have that competitive or that leadership quality to your reputation, to how your career is, how you are at work. You are kind of independent and fiery and outgoing. Maybe all these would be suggested with Aries midheaven, and Mars is crossing over your midheaven to make you extra confident, extra outgoing. It's almost like more of what you already are in your career. It's like boosting those traits. So bringing out that competitive energy. You could maybe watch out not to be too aggressive at this time because you may be, overly confident, overly like cocky. So that would be maybe the potential downside to this, but there's a lot of power that comes with this. Mars is, making you so energized and so fiery in your workplace. So so I think you can definitely utilize that energy. There's a lot of energy there at your disposal. Okay, and then new moon. There's a new moon at 7 degrees Cancer, and this is sort of right on the boundary between your 11th and 12th houses, and it's right by your Saturn and your Venus. Um, so I think, this again, like I was kind of saying earlier, this is a major shift from these more public parts of your life, which will continue to be a forefront astrologically here as we continue. But this new moon is showing now the focus is also in shifting to and incorporating more of a coming back to who you really are, like, refocusing. We're getting closer to your birthday and such. So it's kind of, things are becoming almost more simplified, more, I don't know, it's hard for me to describe. It's more coming, it's like this whole cycle, this whole year for you is kind of beginning to conclude. And as it does, it can be kind of challenging as we approach our birthdays, but we experience that kind of death in a way, and then that rebirth as we have that new year come in right around our birthday. And then we have that increased energy and self-awareness and self-expression. So you're kind of gearing up for that little bit of a transformation, that yearly transformation that we have. So I'm not sure. You can think back to how do you usually experience July and August? Because I would suggest that there should be some kind of transformation happening right around that time. So that's what this new moon shows to me is kind of beginning. That ends June, and so this next chapter is for July and August. I guess I already touched on what I wanted to say for July and August pretty much, but July and August is this shift back to Cancer and soon to be Leo, and Virgo a little bit as we get later in August. But so yeah, again, this is, the focus is more on yourself. There are still a lot of planets in your career and public image and all that. But there's also some coming back to focusing on you, focusing on your own self-expression and re-strengthening just who you are as a person in general, which is very powerful. It's actually maybe the most powerful part of the chart really for planets to go over because again, this is, especially with your sun here, this is like your like the base of who you are. It's your vitality, it's your self-expression, it's so much of just who you are. So all these planets are coming back to realign with who you are as a person generally and restart a new chapter for you there. So that's kind of what July and August are about. Get more water. Okay. Let's see. Going forward to July 4th. Transiting Sun conjoins your natal Saturn at 12 degrees Cancer. This is not a super big deal. It happens once a year, right around this time. So you would experience this every July 4th, really. Give or take a day. But this would just show that the focus is more on your home or your challenges involving home or your leadership there. I honestly wouldn't read too much into this since the Saturn is more of an outer planet. The Sun crossing here just shows that you're focusing more on the structure of your home and family, sort of. And then the next day, July 5th, Sun crosses over your natal Venus. This is really great because it just, it's shining a light on your Venus. So your Venus, again, is how you, it's your flair, it's your charisma, it's what you desire, and it's how you are desirable. And Sun crossing over your natal Venus just accentuates all of that. So it makes you more focused on your desires, makes you more playful, more focused on pleasure, but also makes you more pleasant, though, more attractive. So yeah, it kind of just shines a light in those areas. And this would be positive for, finance and relationships and such. Okay, and July 9th. July 9th. I see what I was saying here. It's hard to read my notes. What I was saying is transiting Mars at 3 degrees Taurus will make a trine to your natal Mars, which is at 3 degrees Virgo here. Um, so this is nice because it just increases your ambition, increases that competitive energy that you have, your ambition, your motivation. It mean you have kind of high energy at this time, especially with the sun nearing your sun and your ascendant. So having that Mars trine is just really nice because you would be extra ambitious. Transiting Mars is in your house of career, so you may be especially ambitious with your career, getting a lot of work done there, being more self-expressive, and confident in those areas. Okay, July 11th. There's multiple things going on. Transiting Mercury conjoins your natal Venus at 13 degrees Cancer, so that can make you extra talkative and a lot more having a lot of interactions, maybe a lot busier, but you're busy with things that are pleasant, so pleasant dialogue, pleasant conversations, pleasant activities. Maybe spending a little bit more at this time, but also potentially making more money at this time as well. And there's also transiting Jupiter at 8 degrees of Aries, making a trine to your natal Sun and ascendant at 8 degrees of Leo. So this is just giving you a lot of growth and expansion, confidence, a lot of optimism. So that's really powerful as well. And also on July 11th is one of the 3 exact Pluto returns for the United States, because Pluto is at 27 degrees Capricorn, 33 minutes. Exactly where Pluto was for America's, the signing of the Constitution for the United States. So again, I kind of touched on this. It's hard to say exactly how it would affect you. I'm still not sure exactly how to approach that answer, but I will just say generally, again, like I touched on in the beginning of this video, I think you're prepared for this. There are a lot of changes happening to the country at this time. I don't know. I don't want to sound too preachy, but change is it's just that. It's just change. It's hard for us to adjust to. It can be distressing because we attach ourselves to things in life. We have, especially you're very goal oriented with your Capricorn moon. So you are very attached to things. You have your ego set in things, in what you're doing. You take pride in what you do. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I guess we also just have to incorporate that willingness to change, sometimes in a very fundamental way. And so we're experiencing that all now on a national level, immense change, which is of course distressing and it's hard to adjust to, but we will adjust. Life goes on. I'm not sure how to say exactly, but I think you'll be okay. Especially with your Pluto, you had Pluto cross your moon, so after transiting Pluto crossing your moon, you would be bulletproof coming out after that. You would be, so I mean, maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit. I think you are probably very resilient after an aspect like that, after have gone through that. I can't talk, but so I'm not sure exactly what to say how it will affect you, but I think you'll be fine. I really do. I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Especially you do have some planets, some aspects kind of strengthening you at this time too. So far, I think January looks like the hardest time for you. The time that I'm making this video, seems like the hardest time of year for you, generally speaking. So, yeah, I think you got this. You'll be all right. Okay, going forward to July 13th. Full moon at 21 degrees Capricorn. Now, this could also light up the Pluto return since it is in that general neck of the woods there. It's pretty close. But for you personally, it is 21 degrees Capricorn. So it's right by your natal moon. And it's also kind of opposing your Mercury and to a lesser extent your Venus. So this full moon it's very much lighting up a lot of your personal placements here. And with the full moon lining up with your natal moon in particular, you um, you are you're extra aware of how you feel, your emotions, and who you are as a person. Like the moon is lighting up with your own moon, your own core identity. So this would show maybe increased activity for you, increased confidence, increased assuredness, and it's very much inward confidence, inner confidence that you have. So, let's see. Not sure what else to say other than it'd be general increased activity for you. You'd be very busy, but you'd also be very confident. You'd feel very stable within yourself at this time. Going forward to July 14th, transiting Sun conjoins your natal Mercury at 22 degrees Cancer, so this would make you more busy, learning a lot, speaking, writing, reading, lots of short distance travel, just generally more busy with things in general, more small tasks for you at this time, more busy. July 15th and 16th, transiting Mercury conjoins your natal Mercury at 22 degrees Cancer. And this would also be a lot of the same things. So learning, reading, writing, speaking, learning, more busy, more short distance travel, more tasks, more, errands to run, that type of thing. Maybe interacting with people more. Going forward to July 16th and 17th. This I was just kind of showing that there's a water trine with the moon going through Pisces here, and then Sun and Mercury conjunct at 24 degrees Cancer. So this is just nice for you. You do have, kind of a lot of water placements, I'd say, Mercury and Venus in particular. So this is nice. It's trines like we talked about before. So you're just having more confidence. It's easy, but there's more harmony at this time. Things are going well for you. That's why I say this Pluto return aspect right in July is tempered for you. You're personally experiencing a lot of strong aspects at the same time that America is having this sort of crisis, and that can definitely happen. This does look like, as far as the inner um, planets, that affect the day to day more so. It looks generally positive for you. It looks like you're confident. It's harmonious. It's easy for you at this time, I would say. I think the biggest challenge at this time is actually in your relationships more so than your career looks strong to me. I have to say. I mean, I can be wrong. I'll admit. I'm not flawless in what I do here. But if I had to guess, it looks you have a lot of Mars in your 10th house at this time too. It looks like you're pretty confident in who you are and in your career, your direction, and your goals. You have a lot of energy and confidence. So, I mean, to me, it looks like a strong time. It looks like the biggest challenge is in your relationships, and Saturn is retrograde there. But yourself and your career looks really strong. July 20th through 22nd, I just noted there's a big cluster in Taurus. So again, the focus is very much on your career, public profile, all of that. With Mars there, you do have that ambition, that confidence, that competitive energy in your career, which is really good. It's good to have. And Moon just brings the general focus there for these couple days here. Going forward to July 23rd, transiting Mercury conjoins. Let's see here. Transiting Mercury. Okay. Transiting Mercury at 8 degrees Leo conjoins your natal ascendant and Sun. So this would make you a lot more expressive, and it would be a good day to start things, start small projects, especially, and I don't know, you'd be very expressive, very busy at this time, thinking a lot, learning a lot. um, Mercury is just increasing all this busyness and this learning, reading, writing, speaking, and this general busyness for you as it crosses over your natal planet placements here. Yep, that's pretty much what I have to say. And then going forward to July 28th, Jupiter retrograde at 8 degrees Aries. Okay, Jupiter turns retrograde at 8 degrees Aries. So it's interesting because almost makes an exact trine to your sun, to your sun. It does make an exact trine to your ascendant, but not quite to your sun. So I mean, I'm kind of splitting hairs here. Jupiter is generally trining those your sun and your ascendant. It's just almost making that exact trine to the minute, but not just quite. So this is kind of strong because Jupiter's spending a lot of time. It's stationing retrograde, so it's kind of slowing down to start to go retrograde. So it's spending a lot of time trining your sun and ascendant at this time. So I think this is really powerful. Growth, expansion, harmony, optimism at this time. Jupiter, that's a really, really strong transit to have. So, and really you could apply this toward anything. It makes things easier for you so you can get extra work done, or you can, just take it easy. But Jupiter making this trine, to me, it looks like a really positive time. I don't know what to say. I know you're going through challenges right now, and we're worried about this Pluto return for America. But judging on what I see here, it looks like a really positive time for you, especially as we have this new moon at 5 degrees Leo. It's showing this new beginning for you. And then Jupiter's just making this trine, so it looks really positive, harmonious, optimistic, a lot of growth and expansion. So, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of warmth and vitality there. It looks pretty optimistic to me, but we'll see how it goes here. July 28th and 29th, transiting Venus conjoins your natal Venus. So that too is really great. You're having your Venus return, so that would suggest you're embracing all those Venus attributes, which I've kind of outlined multiple times in this video. But you're extra warm and pleasant to be around. You're more attractive to people. If you make a change with your physical appearance, it will probably be really good. And you generally have grace and ease with your finances and relationships. So that's really positive as well. It could also mean, maybe making more money at this time. Venus brings about that abundance, that charm, that playfulness and beauty. So you have all that at your disposal, as you experience your Venus return here. Venus, transiting Venus, meeting your natal Venus. Okay. July 31st. Transiting Sun at 8 degrees Leo conjoins your ascendant and your sun. So this is actually your solar return. I know your birthday is on August 1st, but transiting Sun reaches the point where your natal sun, where the sun was at your time of birth, it actually reaches that point July 31st. So from an astrological perspective, it's almost like July 31st is more of a birthday for you than August 1st, which is your actual birthday, if that makes sense. So really there's this kind of new beginning and new energizing of yourself, it's almost like you kind of wake up and you have more power, more freedom, more self-expression, more motivation, more optimism. You're just generally stronger. You're kind of like born again at this time. And again, this is something we experience every year, but still, it's powerful nonetheless. And it's especially powerful this year because you have Jupiter making that trine to the sun as it happens. So yeah, this is very optimistic. You could be very inspired, very passionate, very active at this time, and having a lot of power, enthusiasm, confidence, etc. August 1st is your birthday, though, so happy birthday. And I don't really have any aspects for August 1st. Nothing until August 5th, where we have transiting Venus conjoining your natal Mercury at 22 degrees Cancer. So this, combining Venus and Mercury like this is great for positive interactions, enjoyable conversations, pleasant interactions with people, that type of thing. It could also mean that you're making extra money at this time as well. It could also mean that you're communicating in a way that's very attractive to people, very effective. August 5th through 6th, transiting Mercury conjoins your natal Mars at 3 degrees Virgo. So this would make you very busy and very motivated. Could mean that you're working a lot. I know judging off your placements, you are a very hard worker. So this could kind of accentuate that, mean that you are very busy, you're working a lot at this time, and definitely very motivated, definitely very like passionate is a pattern I'm noticing here at this general time. August 11th, there's a full moon at 19 degrees Aquarius, and this is in your seventh house. So it is bringing a culmination or, extra drama, extra activity in your relationships. So, especially your one-on-one relationships, people in your life could have a lot of activity happening in their life, and then it kind of bleeds over into yours, if you will. But that's where kind of the activity is, generally speaking, for this full moon. Also on August 11th, Venus enters Leo, which is really great. Venus being in Cancer is really great because that's your natal sign of Venus. So for most of July, you had that increased, abundance and warmth and charisma from Venus being in your own Venus sign. But this continues really as Venus enters Leo because that's your sun and ascendant sign. So Venus is still continuing to sort of bless you with the increased abundance, increased pleasure, increased desirability. You're very desirable at this time. So Venus just continues all that for you now. So that's really great. Going forward to August 18th, transiting Venus conjoins natal Sun at 8 degrees Leo. So this is really awesome. Everything I just said times 10 on this day. Venus is lining up with your ascendant and your sun, and Jupiter is still making that trine to your ascendant and sun as well. So this is really powerful. It's like you have all the power at this time. Like you're extra desirable, extra motivated, extra optimistic. You have all the energy, all the power, all the desirability. So yeah, this is really great. I mean, you could use this a million ways. You could use this to be extra productive or have extra productive interactions with other people. It's like other people are more willing to work with you right now. But also just, I don't know, you could use this for being more productive. You could use it for just having more fun. This is just a generally really strong, pleasant, harmonious dynamic for you here. So, like I say it like it is, January was really hard. It was kind of, bleakish, but August is, it looks pretty good from what I can see, so that's really awesome. August 26th, transiting Sun conjoins your natal Mars. So this too could make you more ambitious, more active, more sexual, maybe more productive. Maybe working more. It's like dopamine related. So like dopamine is the masculine, chemical. It makes us want to work more, but it also makes us more sexual. So that's kind of the general direction that you'd be going in. More active, more, I don't know, more productive, more sexual, etc. More competitive, more outgoing, etc. Going forward to August 27th, there's a new moon at 4 degrees Virgo, and it's right near your Mars. So that would indicate new motivation, new ambition, working more so. Also that increased sexuality, like I said, increased sex drive. What else? Could also indicate new interactions with men or with characters that are competitive or outgoing or dominant, etc. But I think the ball is mostly in your court here. The new moon is lining up with your Mars, so you are the one that's more taking charge, initiating, kind of dominating, more competitive. So this is generally good. It makes you more confident, so that's good. But you could also be aware of being more cocky or overly confident as well, or being a little bit belligerent or overpowering, I guess. But still, this is a nice thing to have just because it does make you generally more powerful, more outgoing. That concludes what I have for August. The next sort of chapter here is September and October. So for September and October, the focus is mostly on Virgo and Libra. For you, these loosely line up with your second and third houses, and it also starts to accentuate your IC. It starts to affect your IC here. So this is mostly affecting your foundations and your finances. So the planets are going back more so to the planets are going back more so to your foundation, to your home, to your finances, etc. And so, as these inner planets, the Sun, Mercury, and Venus in particular, as they enter and go through Virgo and Libra, they are now going through these signs that correlate to the bottom of your chart. So this is sort of your foundation, your home. That's where the energy and the focus will be on. Also, particularly your finances as we go through September here, because most of Virgo corresponds to your second house of personal finances. So that's where the energy and the focus is on, generally speaking. And right at the end of August, and then now going into early September, we have first Mercury, then the Sun, and then now Venus crossing over your natal Mars. And so that's really great for giving you that extra ambition, and you know what you want, and you're very much capable of going after it at this time. You're more productive, more ambitious, more energetic. And the only thing to be aware of would be that you could be overly cocky at this time, or maybe sort of maybe being aggressive or stepping on other people's toes. But in general, this is a really nice position to have, though, just because it does give you that extra confidence and extra energy to sort of have at your disposal. So definitely nice. And you will experience this again here on September 7th when Venus will cross over your natal Mars. So this in particular is great for, it's almost like there's more harmony and more pleasantness that you'll experience in regard to your goals. And so it's almost like it's easier to be productive at this time and to get more accomplished, and to have it be a positive experience, to enjoy being ambitious and being energetic. So this is really great. It just suggests that you're very much very much energized, and able to get what you want. You know what you want very much so at this time. So this is a really great placement. To me, it looks like a lot of fun, but it's also great for being productive, getting more work done, and having fun while you do it, pretty much. So this looks like a really great day to be productive in general. As we go forward to September 10th, there is a full moon at 17 degrees Pisces, and so it is pretty much conjunct your Jupiter, which is at 16 degrees Pisces. So this could be good for sort of higher learning for you, for expansion. So this looks like it would bring about some kind of really positive, harmonious energy for you. So this might be almost a little bit like a kind of party energy for you, or just like a good time in general. And also, like I said, good for like higher learning maybe, or making more money. Jupiter brings expansion and abundance with it. So whether that be physically, like financially, or abundance in terms of like the mind. Jupiter also kind of correlates to these philosophical and like higher learning qualities as well. So you can kind of experience all of that with this full moon. So it looks really, really positive and pretty harmonious, and something easy for you to experience here. Okay, also on September 10th, Mercury turns retrograde at 8 degrees Libra, and it will be retrograde until October 1st. So pretty much, the rest of September here, Mercury will be retrograde, and it will retrograde through these first degrees of Libra, and it will go back into Virgo. And so for you, this whole area really corresponds to your second house. So Mercury turning retrograde there for most of September indicates you're kind of, excuse me, you're kind of going back and re-looking over your finances. So maybe kind of making adjustments to your work situation, or to your spending habits, or the way you kind of allocate your resources. All that is kind of put into question now, and this does have potential to be disruptive or challenging. But I think that's why it's good to look at these things in advance, because you can see this as an opportunity to sort of revamp and kind of redo your whole financial situation a little bit. Make sure that everything is still, as you need it to be, and that your priorities are kind of set straight here. So yeah, really, it's just an opportunity for change in this area, of course, corresponding to your personal finances. So nothing necessarily to be afraid of, but definitely, maybe there needs to be some changes in those areas for the rest of September here. All right, and then mid to late September, Sun and Venus will be in the second house. So I think this is nice. Mercury retrograde is asking you to change a lot of things with your finances, but the Sun and Venus are crossing through, kind of bringing energy and abundance. These are both benefics, really, Sun and Venus. And so both sort of bring vitality and energy, abundance and harmony to wherever they go. So they're both kind of bringing that abundance to your finances. So again, maybe changes need to be made there, but it doesn't necessarily mean hard times necessarily. It's you could this would this would suggest to me that you are making a lot of money at this time. Maybe especially Venus in the second house indicates making a lot of money and spending a lot of money. And then Mercury retrograde in the second house suggests changing your financial habits all at the same time here. Okay, and then going to September 25th, there is a new moon at 2 degrees Libra. And so this too is, of course, in your second house. So this would indicate a new beginning kind of financially. Could also indicate maybe a large purchase for something. When we have such strong transits in the second house, it makes us potentially make a lot more money, but we also want to spend more money. So we're more kind of focused, we're more willing to put in the work to make that extra money, but we're also more focused on our desires and maybe, I don't know, buying things. So new moon in the second house just indicates maybe new finances, a new way of looking at finances, new spending habits, maybe something new with your job, new that in that way, and it could also indicate a new large purchase of some kind. September 26th, transiting Mars will conjoin your natal south node at 18 degrees Gemini. And transiting Mars is in its pre-shadow, meaning that it will soon turn retrograde and then go back over the place that it's at now. And having it conjoin your south node like this, I think kind of can mean multiple things. It could indicate that you are extra motivated and energized in the sense of your ability to be sort of a social butterfly, social chameleon. You are really good at learning many different things, and you're good at fitting in with people, and all those things are good, but it's something that it's kind of like your comfort zone. You're sort of meant in this life to expand out of that and not just be learning lots of mundane information, or not just fitting yourself to blend in with other people, but you're meant to branch out and go into the North Node in Sagittarius, which is more rebellious, more passionate, more delving into, a few subjects rather than many. And I've sort of outlined all this, but the reason why I'm bringing it up again is because Mars is highlighting that area for you. So it's suggesting that maybe there's more, you're more motivated to do the things that you're good at. So to fit in with other people or to learn many different things, you're more motivated to do those things and confident and more active in that area. And on the one hand, it's good because you're really great at all those things. You're good at all that. But on the other hand, it could be bad because Mars is bringing out this kind of like potential for hostility there, or maybe too much energy, too much focus there. And this is your south node too, so I think there are maybe challenges associated with it. So maybe, fitting in too much with people, not focusing on what you truly want, or learning lots of information, but it doesn't actually have, value in terms of like, it's not information to be passionate about. It's not information that needs to be applied to real life. It's just kind of trivial, I guess you could say. So there are those kind of pitfalls in those areas that I think Mars could potentially bring up on this day here with this aspect. On October 9th, there's a full moon at 16 degrees Aries. And for you, this is in your ninth house, and it's also it's making a sort of loose trine to your sun and ascendant, and it's also making a loose conjunction with your midheaven. This would indicate a potential opportunity for higher learning being in your ninth house. So learning, high information that is, philosophical or abstract or overarching, so like broad concepts, complex concepts, maybe occult information, all that could be kind of coming out into the light now. This is a very active full moon for everyone, so it's sort of like a party energy. People are up later, more energized. And you would feel this as well, and you'd probably be very visible because the moon is so close to your midheaven. So you would be, I don't know, extra visible. So you could be doing that higher learning. And this also looks like a potentially fun placement for you. Could be very social, that type of thing. So generally a lot of energy right now for this full moon for you, for everyone, but especially for you here on October 9th. And jumping forward here a little bit to October 18th, transiting Sun conjoins your natal IC at 25 degrees Libra. And the next day on October 19th, transiting Venus will conjoin your IC at 25 degrees Libra. This indicates that the focus is very much on your IC, which in astrology, the IC correlates to your foundation, your home, your family. And so you may be more active at home. So maybe more projects to do at home, but Venus is conjunct the IC as well. So this indicates that your desire is at home. You're having more fun at home. You're enjoying yourself at home right now. So I don't know, maybe more activity in general, but especially positive, pleasant. Um, I'm losing the words, but experiences that are positive and pleasant. Maybe like indulging at home somehow. That's definitely a potential on October 18th and 19th. And with Venus here as well, you could be making upgrades to your home, making your home more aesthetic or comforting in some way, or just enjoying yourself more there. But that's generally where the focus is for the next couple days here, spending more time at home and or with family as well. And then late October, we have Sun and Venus entering Scorpio. And then once they do enter Scorpio, they'll start to trine your Venus and Mercury and Saturn and Jupiter. So, these you do have a lot of water planets, and so I think as these sort of inner planets over here transiting Sun and Venus in particular, as they enter Scorpio, it will start to set off a lot of trines for you. So this does begin kind of a harmonious time, a time that's more easier, and more positive and pleasant for you to experience. So that's definitely nice to have. October 25th, this really gets kick-started with the new moon at 1 degree of Scorpio, and it's conjunct Venus as well. And all this kind of cluster here is right near your IC. It's either in the 3rd or 4th house, depending on which house system you'd like to use, really. So again, it's at the base of your chart here. It's indicating new beginnings and new increased activity with your home and family. So, it's not dramatic enough that I would expect you to like move or anything like that, or make any super dramatic changes with your home life. But you could definitely have some kind of revamping or new things beginning, new projects at home, or new, I don't know, hobbies, new new like more time that you're now spending at home, or you're enjoying yourself more at home. And this also, like I said, applies to family as well. So I don't know, new focus is at home and with the family in some way right around this time. And then going forward to October 30th, 31st, Mars turns retrograde at 25 degrees Gemini, and it's in your 11th house. So Mars in your 11th house is bringing about more competitive interactions with other people, like in your community or your whatever groups you affiliate yourself with. Mars is bringing out kind of passion, competitiveness in those areas socially, maybe kind of charged or intense interactions. And then as it turns retrograde, it's indicating that maybe you're sort of rethinking how you fit in with the group or how you don't. I think there could be some friction there. And the Mars retrograde might be encouraging you to sort of rethink how you fit in with the group or your community. and sort of pushing you to make some changes there. I would just definitely look out for this because Mars can bring some sort of belligerence or aggression, maybe a little bit from you or maybe from other people in your community. It can bring out about kind of those tense dynamics socially here in the 11th house. So that's just something to kind of look out for. And it's interesting because Mars is in your 11th house, but then there's all this focus by your IC. So it almost seems like you're more comfortable at home right now, and the world kind of seems a little bit scary, like more aggressive in a way. But that's okay. Maybe it's pointing at some kind of change that needs to be made involving the groups you affiliate yourself with, or the way you sort of are involved in your community. I guess needs to be changed somehow. That concludes what I have for October, and then now lastly for November and December, the focus becomes more on Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. These three signs here for the rest of the year. And let's look at your natal chart here. So Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn pretty much fit into this, what we'd call the second quadrant in astrology, fourth, fifth, and sixth houses, between the IC and the descendant. So this whole quarter here is the focus for the rest of the year. And so this would be kind of home and family, but then also kind of branching out into services and problems. The second quadrant as a whole refers more to family. So generally the focus for the rest of the year is on your home, family, but also kind of how you service others, or also just various issues. I talked about the sixth house before. It has a lot to do with maintenance and dealing with problems or maintaining your health. Also pertains a little bit to your job, your work in some ways as well. So that's where the focus will be generally in December, and then before that, for most of November, the focus is mostly your home life and your family. Children, if you have them, will become more of a focus now, but also sort of creative self-expression a little bit. We tend to experience in the fifth house as well. But I know I covered kind of a lot of themes, but those are generally where the focuses are for the rest of the year here. All right, November 8th, there is a full moon lunar eclipse at 16 degrees Taurus. Now, this is very interesting for everyone, so of course for you as well. For you, actually, you don't have any planets really, on this axis. You don't have any planets in Scorpio or Taurus, so none are really directly affected by this. The full moon lunar eclipse will be trining your moon, which is nice. But other than that, the full moon lunar eclipse is in your 10th house, though, in your house of career and public image. And so there could be a sudden change to your career, to your public image. There could be a lot of karmic stuff happening, a lot of activity in that arena. And definitely there could be a lot of really unexpected sort of volatile shifts there. The moon is conjunct Uranus for this full moon lunar eclipse, so this could also, just for everyone in general, kind of trigger a lot of economic changes, on a societal or systemic level. And so this could be maybe part of what's changing your career at this time. There's some kind of change that needs to be made with your career, your public image, and this can be disruptive and distressing, of course, but at the same time, Uranus is bringing awakening with it. So this could be something difficult to experience, but it's ideally bringing awakening. And there's this kind of push and pull because there's, these three planets, Mercury and Venus, along with the Sun, are all kind of clustered here in Scorpio in your fourth house, and then Moon and Uranus are clustered by the North Node in Taurus, which is your 10th house. So there's almost this push and pull between like your home and your emotional core and who you are kind of deep down, and there's a push and a pull and a clash between that and your career and public image profile. So that points to potentially dramatic changes being made in those areas for this full moon lunar eclipse. November 12th through 14th, there's these water trines as the moon passes through Cancer. So I just noted this, that this looks really positive and strong for you. There are these three planets clustered in Scorpio, these two in Pisces, and then the moon in Cancer. So there's all these water trines, and these match up with, your kind of numerous planets in water. Um, so yeah, just generally speaking, in mid-November, you get kind of this nice break here. There has been that intense activity in your house of career just recently, but then now things are generally positive, easy, harmonious for you. I think you're feeling very um, secure, and like where you stand, sort of. You know how you feel, and you know your stance on things, and so it's just kind of generally easy at this time. And then going forward to November 23rd, November 23rd, there's a new moon at 1 degree Sagittarius, and it is in the fourth house near your Neptune here. Fourth house, almost fifth house. Okay, so I really would not read too much into this. It really doesn't aspect much in your chart. New moon in Sagittarius. This could be a new beginning, new activity with your family, so maybe increased focus there. That's mainly what I would get out of this. It's not a really strong new moon necessarily. And going forward to November 29th, transiting Mercury will conjoin your natal north node at 18 degrees Sagittarius. So this is really great. This to me indicates some potential for higher learning, and also for delving into maybe some topics that you feel really passionate about. So something that might not, it's sort of rebellious in nature. So you may be getting into activities or information that sets you apart from other people, that lead you to have to be rebellious in some way. So that can be difficult. It's kind of foreign to you. You're a little bit out of your comfort zone. But at the same time, this is really excellent. It's what you need to evolve, because you're meant to, become more passionate about, the truth, what you know to be true. So that's definitely really good, great for your evolution. And Mercury, you can see these are all clustered here, these three planets. So Mercury is the first one to cross this zone here with your north node, and then Venus and the Sun will soon catch up and cross this area as well. So they'll bring more focus there to this rebelliousness. And what's really interesting is, as they cross over here, Mercury in particular, it's opposing opposing Mars at 19 degrees Gemini. So Mercury is conjunct your north node, and Mars is conjunct your south node. This indicates to me maybe you're still having that friction in your community or with your interactions with other people, with friends or coworkers, or I don't know, people in your community or whatever groups you affiliate yourself with, maybe your work to some degree. There's a lot of clashing there. There's competitiveness. People, you feel like you're having a battle in that area, battling with your community. Your community's battling with you. But at the same time, I think you are kind of delving into truth seeking and standing up for what you believe in and what you know to be true, and becoming more expressive in that area as well. And like I said, this is very challenging, it's disruptive, but at the same time, it's really great for your soul growth. It's what you kind of need, on a inner level, I think, on a soul level. So definitely very interesting. Going forward to December 1st, transiting Mars will make the exact conjunction with your south node. Let's see here. So this brings about more of kind of what I was already talking about. This is continuing into December here, where there's these clashes with your community, with your friends, coworkers, etc. That kind of maybe comes to a head on December 1st. But again, I think there's this really positive energy focusing on your north node. So I think you're doing what's right. I think it is hard, having these confrontations with people, with the public, maybe even. That can be kind of unsettling for you, but at the same time, I think you know where you stand, and you have you have a lot of you have these energies are agreeing with you, so they're saying that you are correct in what you're standing up for, and you do have to be a rebel to some degree, but I think it is correct, or it's what you need on a soul level. So you're kind of in the right place here. Also, December 1st, Venus will conjoin your north node. So again, that's bringing that ease and that harmony. That's bringing that positivity to to your kind of truth seeking and to your rebelling here. So that's why I say I think you are in the right place. You're doing the right thing at this time. Okay, and then as we get into early December, farther into early December here, Mercury, Venus, Sun will all be in Sagittarius here, and they're conjoining your north node, but they're also trining your Sun and ascendant, which are in Leo, so your natal Sun and ascendant are in Leo, and then your midheaven is in Aries. So this is nice too. You do have a lot of water planets, but you also have a lot of fire. Well, you have fire, Sun, and then ascendant and midheaven. So those are some important points. So all these are kind of being lit up with these fire trines from these inner planets going through Sagittarius. So that too is really nice. Getting all those trines again, where you're feeling more confident, more fun, more stable. Things are easier at this time in this area. I think the challenge here is mostly on your community and your interpersonal relationships with. It's not relationships though with like friends or family. It's more like coworkers, the public, that sort of thing. That's where the challenge is. But you yourself, I think, are very confident, very strong. Things are going easy for you. You know where to stand. Like you're doing the right thing, if that makes sense. It's just how people are reacting to that that's kind of making it difficult. But hopefully, I'm articulating that well enough here. Okay, and then as we get into December 7th, there's a full moon at 16 degrees Gemini, and it's in your 11th house, and it's very close to Mars and your south node. So this could really set off some fireworks or set off a lot of drama, and this is, again, it's in the same place that's been highlighted here with your nodes and then transiting Mars in your 11th house. So this could bring about a lot of drama and activity with your community, friends, coworkers, maybe online as well. There could be a lot of theatrics there, a lot of clashing there, and it could feel very karmic. So this could almost feel like a movie. There's just so much happening, and it's very eventful and dramatic. And Mars is here too, so it is pointing to, maybe some conflicts and aggression kind of comes to a head now. So I think people are kind of maybe upset with you, or they don't understand what you're saying or what you're doing. But then I think you yourself definitely know what you believe in. You know what to stand up for. You're in the right place. I think I'm just imagining, I feel like it's easy for you to know exactly where your heart is at this time, and to know what the truth is. And it's easy for you to, maybe not easy, but it's simple for you to stand up for those things, even if other people may not like it, and other people may be very even aggressive about it at times. It's what you have to do, really. So that's kind of where this whole clash is, and it's very kind of eventful at this time, but that's what this full moon would kind of bring about for you. Going to December 9th, transiting Sun crosses your south node, or your north node rather. So this too brings up more, I think it's a little bit less intense since Mercury and Venus have moved on by this time. Mars is a few degrees away from your south node, and the moon is not quite as full now. So things are beginning to maybe taper off just a little bit and not be so intensely heated. But the north node the Sun conjunct your north node suggests that you are still making more progress in being a truth seeker and maybe being a little bit of a rebel. You are definitely still focused on that same area and making a lot of strides in that area as well. December 16th, transiting Sun conjoins your natal midheaven at 25 degrees Sagittarius. So this is a really strong placement. It suggests that you are extra visible at this time in your career, in your public image. Actually, The sun, let's see here. Sun trines your midheaven. 25 degrees Sagittarius. Yeah, so this indicates that your career and your reputation is very strong at this time, which is kind of interesting because I was saying that you were making so many clashes and maybe having some conflicts come about with your community and your reputation, some like crossfire there. But at the same time, this aspect is indicating that you have a really strong reputation and strong career. There's almost a ease or like things are easy or very strong at this time for you in those areas. So that's definitely good to have, especially with all the kind of chaos that's just unfolded in those areas for you. And then going forward to December 21st, transiting Mercury conjoins your natal moon at 19 degrees Capricorn. So this could indicate that you are thinking a lot at this time, learning a lot, maybe reflecting a lot, but also learning new information. And it could indicate that you're extra communicative at this time, so speaking a lot, more chatty, and also the things that you're talking about maybe on a more deep level, more emotional, or just maybe more deep, having more substance at this time. So that's what that aspect would indicate. And then on December 23rd, there's a new moon at 1 degree Capricorn, and it's in your fifth house, almost sixth house, and it's close to your moon, so this could be kind of a new beginning for you. Also, especially with all these planets, with 5 planets in Capricorn, and you having your moon in Capricorn, this could just feel like you're sort of reaching like a checkpoint or becoming kind of reset on an emotional level. Just so this would be really good for feeling more um, like you'd be very much in your element at this time with this new moon here and all these planets in Capricorn. You would feel very sure of yourself and you'd know where to stand again here, where your stance is. And this could also be kind of a new beginning, so a general new beginning for you. And it would really just apply to everything since this is your emotional core. It'd be kind of a new chapter in general for you starting on December 23rd. December 25th, transiting Venus conjoins your natal moon at 19 degrees Capricorn. This would indicate like an emotional harmony or harmony with your inner core. So you are, this would suggest you have like just a general feeling of well-being at this time. So that's kind of nice and just pleasant to experience here. Okay, December 28th. So this is the third and final aspect that I mentioned where the United States will have its Pluto return. Pluto, you can see here, is at 27 degrees Capricorn and 33 minutes. So it's making that final pass after its retrograde to this point to conclude America's Pluto return. So I think by now we will have seen a lot of huge changes in politics, in I don't know, just current events in general with America. A lot has dramatically changed. So America by now has transformed in some very deep and radical way. And I think, this was, of course, it affects us all differently on an individual level. I think for you, most of the chaos was earlier in the year, so especially in early December and late November, I think that's when a lot of these major changes were for you. I think by now, on December 28th, things have actually mellowed out a little bit. Mars has left your south node, and this seems less intense to me. So, maybe things are intensifying again on a national or public level. But I think as for you personally, I think things have actually, um, they may still be intense, but they're not as intense as the beginning of December or late November, if that makes sense. So things have stabilized at least a tiny bit for you, is what I would expect. Okay, also on this day, Mercury turns retrograde at 24 degrees Capricorn, and it will continue to be retrograde until January 18th of 2023. And so with Mercury retrograding over this area, this could affect you very deeply. So it's going, Mercury's retrograding over your moon. So you may be kind of rethinking your stance on things, reflecting a lot too. That would be a major part of this, would just be kind of reflecting and integrating, which makes sense. I think so much has happened, semi recently by this point that you would have kind of a lot to kind of integrate. So if you can at this time have a time to relax or reflect, that would be very useful just so you can kind of, just integrate, put everything together and gain that awareness and that intuition. And this would also just be great to create a sense of well-being in knowing that a lot has happened, but you've made the right choice. Ideally, I think you have to kind of live with whatever has happened, and I think that can be difficult when there's so much activity and so much intensity, so much chaos unfolding. But this is a great transit to kind of just rest and relax a little bit and just kind of really let everything kind of seep in and to accept sort of whatever is taking place, hopefully. So that's kind of what I see there. And then I do have just a couple things in January here. So January 5th, Mercury retrograde does cross over your moon at 19 degrees Capricorn. So it's going backward over your natal moon placement. So this especially would be a really, really great time to rest and relax and kind of integrate. Especially if you're trying to be very productive at this time or very outgoing, it may be difficult. You may feel a little bit slowed down, a little bit maybe sedated or a little bit more internal. You may be very internal just because, like I said, the focus right now for you is not on being super outgoing or outwardly productive. The focus is more on integration and reflection. So that's very useful as long as you kind of are aware of it, I guess I could say. And then last thing I'm going to talk about here is January 6th. There is a full moon at 16 degrees Cancer, and it's close to your Venus and it's in your 12th house. So this would be, especially combining this with Mercury retrograding over your moon, which just happened, this would be an excellent time for receiving intuitive messages or, integrating things, especially participating in activities where you can slow your mind down. So like meditation or reading or writing or gardening or cooking or some kind of maybe physical activity like walking, running, whatever it is for you. This would be a really excellent time to kind of just reflect on things and gain those kind of intuitive or creative messages and that psychic awareness as well. So that's what I have for you for this year. So hopefully this resonates with you. Hopefully this is useful. But I appreciate the request and thanks for watching. I'll see you later.